Chapter 1870. That B** should just die as soon as possible. But why are the people from the Tianji Pavilion here? Our two sects have not interacted for tens of thousands of years. Bai Xianling has never returned since she was chased away by me. I told you that he was a heartless man. You didn't listen to me back then. Yunji looked at the sect leader in front of her. Although Yunxi's cultivation was high and she was the sect leader of the Yunxi sect, she was no different from a child when it came to relationships. Yunxi did not speak. However, a blush appeared on her face. What did she mean by never returning? It was just that no one in the sect knew that Bai Xianling had come. Look at you, you don't look like a sect leader at all. Seeing Yunxi's youthful expression, Yunji was furious. She could not wait to rush to the Tianji Pavilion and settle the score with Bai Xianling. Great Elder, the two people from the Tianji Pavilion are here for a serious matter. After being exposed, Yunxi became serious. She looked at the Great Elder in front of her and said seriously. Oh? What serious matter? Yunji asked. They are here for the Poison Palm sect. Yunxi told him everything that Jiang Chen had told her. Yunji was silent. It's time for the Poison Palm sect and the other sects to disappear from the western region. After a while, Yunji sighed and said, Since the emergence of these sects, the entire western region has been in turmoil. Even our Yunxi sect has been affected to a certain extent. If we don't get rid of them, I'm afraid the western region will become the second outer region. Great Elder, I heard that the rise of these sects seems to be related to a celestial emperor in ancient times. Yunxi frowned slightly. In terms of cultivation, she was higher than the Great Elder. But in terms of understanding of the matters in the western region, the Great Elder was the most knowledgeable person in the western region. You can't say such things casually. The current immortal world no longer has the ability to produce celestial emperors. It is said that the few celestial emperors in ancient times gathered in an unknown territory. Yunji thought for a while and said, Unknown territory? Great Elder, with our strength, is it not enough to go in? Yunxi looked up at the clouds in the sky, lost in thought. She remembered the last time she saw Bai Xianling. She heard that Bai Xianling was going to the unknown territory, and she could not follow her because of her status as the sect leader. Since then, she had not seen Bai Xianling for almost a year. At the very least, only half-step immortal emperors are qualified to enter. Yunji took a deep breath and said, When my cultivation base reaches the half-step immortal emperor realm, I also want to go in and have a look. Yunji clenched her fists. She couldn't wait to go in and find Bai Xianling. These things are too far away. Come to think of it, this time when the people from the Divine Secret Pavilion come to the western region, you are only allowed to do business with them. As for other things, don't even think about it. With Bai Xianling there, his disciples won't be that strong. Yunji reminded him with a worried look. She knew that the sect master in front of her was good at everything. But when it came to relationships, she was no different from an ignorant little girl. At that time, it was her negligence that allowed Bai Xianling to take advantage of the loophole. Otherwise, all these things would not have happened. I know. Yunxi's face turned red. When she thought of Bai Xianling, one of the three great immortal kings, who had the strength of a half-step immortal emperor, being chased out of the sect by Elder Yunji, she found it funny. All right, you think about it yourself. I still have other things to do. If you dare to mix with those people from the Divine Secret Pavilion and follow them to find Bai Xianling, don't blame me for confining you when I come back. Before the first elder left, he snorted coldly. Humph, I am the sect master of the Yunxi sect. You want to confine me? Impossible. Yunxi raised her head and revealed a faint smile. If the first elder hadn't mentioned it, she wouldn't have thought of this. Now, she wanted to ask Jiang Chen about Bai Xianling's current situation. Was she still in the unknown territory or had she come back from there? Yunxi had always been free to do as she pleased. When night fell, she came down from the mountain and sneaked into Jiang Chen's room. At this time, Jiang Chen was lying in the room. He was thinking about how to investigate the situation of the Black Poison sect. When he suddenly saw the door open, he immediately became alert. His celestial force overflowed from his body and he was ready to attack. Someone who could approach him quietly must be an expert. Are you going to kill me? Seeing Jiangchen about to attack, Yunshi couldn't help but burst into laughter. Sect Master Yunshi? Seeing this beautiful figure, Jiangchen quickly withdrew his celestial force. However, it was already late at night. Jiangchen was surprised that the sect master of the Yunshi sect came to visit him in person. Sect Master Yunshi, I wonder what brings you here so late at night. I want to know about Bai Xuanling's situation. Yunshi didn't beat around the bush. After sitting on the stool in front of Jiangchen, she said directly, There's nothing wrong with Master. Jiangchen breathed a sigh of relief. The last time he came to see me was last year. Yunshi sighed softly. At that time, he told me that he was going to the unknown territory. He also said that it was too dangerous there, and he couldn't bring me along. I want to ask you, after Bai Xianling entered the unknown territory, did he come back? He came back once or twice, but each time he left in a hurry. Jiangchen said honestly. However, in his heart, he felt indignant for the sect master in front of him. Bai Xianling actually went to the unknown territory to look for his mother when there was such a beautiful person around. He said that it was too dangerous. In fact, he was afraid that once he found his mother, he wouldn't be able to explain it to sect master Yunshi. Jiang Chen's impression of Bai Xianling was greatly reduced. He looked exactly like a scumbag. No wonder his mother didn't have a good impression of him. It seemed that he knew about these things. Alas, he didn't look for me when he came back. Yunshi looked disappointed. Sect Master Yunshi, when my master comes back next time, I will definitely inform you in time. However, I also have something to ask you. Jiangchen calculated in his heart and immediately said, Oh? What do you want to ask? Yunshi raised her head and looked at him. The poison sect. I want to know about the situation of this sect. Jiangchen took a deep breath and said, To tell you the truth, the sect master of Love Valley and I have a good relationship. I have to save them. I hope that sect master Yunshi can help me for the sake of White Robe Immortal King. I don't know much about this sect. However, if you want to know, you have to promise me one thing, Yunshi said while holding her forehead gently. Indeed, the great elder was right. None of the people in Tianji Pavilion were simple. Chapter 1871. Sect Master Yunshi, feel free to tell me. As long as I can do it, I will do it. Jiangchen nodded and agreed. When Bai Xianling comes back next time, you must inform me. I must see her. Yunshi looked at Jiangchen and hoped to get a definite answer. No problem. Deal. Jiangchen nodded and agreed. What do you want to know about the poison sect? Yunshi smiled with satisfaction. Although I am the sect master of the Yunshi sect, I don't know much about the western region. I will try my best to tell you. I want to interrogate Xie Yishuo. When I went to see Master Yunwei, he told me that if I killed Xie Yishuo, it would bring trouble to the Yunshi sect. He stopped me from doing it. Jiangchen took a deep breath and said slowly, He is just a disciple of the immortal master. Easy. Yunshi was stunned, but a smile quickly appeared on her face. Compared to these things, she wanted to see Bai Xianling more. She wanted to see if she had encountered anything interesting in the unknown territory, or even if she was injured. Then sect master Yunshi means. Upon hearing this, Jiangchen was amused. Let's go. I will take you to the 7th mountain to see the disciple of the poison sect. Yunshi waved her hand and pushed open the door of Jiangchen's room and walked out. She did not look like she was floating in the air like when Jiangchen first saw her. Instead, she looked like a big sister who was very loyal to her friends. She visited in the middle of the night. Yunwei was shocked. In his memory, sect master Yunshi had never taken the initiative to visit the 7th mountain. She had suddenly come at this time without any notice. Something big must have happened. Yunwei's expression was anxious. He wondered if he had done something wrong during this period of time. Even when his forehead was covered in cold sweat, he still didn't know what had happened. Sect Master! Yunwei hurried out of the room and saw Yunxi in the main hall, and Jiangchen, who was standing beside Yunxi. Sect Master Yunxi, may I know the reason for your sudden visit in the middle of the night? Although Yunwei was curious, he still knelt on one knee and saluted Yunxi. That disciple of the Poison Palm sect was imprisoned by you, right? Yunxi went straight to the point. She wanted Jiangchen to see her sincerity. Yes, Yunwei replied. Take us to see him, Yunxi said. Since the sect master had spoken, Yunwei did not dare to disagree. He could only lead the two of them to the prison. But on the way, his eyes were still fixed on Yunxi. You like sect master Yunxi? Jiangchen could see through this kind of look with just a glance. Walking to Yunwei's side, Jiangchen asked in a low voice. Brother Jiangchen, what are you talking about? Having his thoughts exposed, Yunwei immediately felt awkward. Sect Master Yunxi was obviously Jiangchen's woman. Now that Jiangchen had asked such a question, could it be that the legendary pavilion master of the mysterious Sky Pavilion had some unique interests? Thinking of this, Yunwei could not help but shudder. It's okay. It's not wrong to like her, Jiangchen said as he patted him on the shoulder. Inside the prison, Jiangchen saw Qiaishuo again. After several days of recovery, Qiaishuo's physical condition was much better than before. However, with the special ropes of the Yunxi sect, he could not use any of his strength and could only be locked up here. You don't have to come again. I won't tell you anything. If you want to kill me, just do it. Qiaishuo was certain that the Yunxi sect would not want his life. Therefore, after seeing Jiangchen, he turned his head and snorted coldly. Sect Master, I have been interrogating him these past few days, but he refused to say anything. Yunwei was also a little annoyed. He cupped his hands and said to Yunxi, Is that so? Yunxi stepped forward. Greetings, Sect Master Yunxi. Qiaishuo snorted coldly. He knew that even if Yunxi was here, she could not do anything to him. In the past 10,000 years, the Poison Sect and the Yunxi Sect had had many conflicts, but neither side dared to kill the other with great fanfare. Answer Jiangchen's question. Yunxi stood in front of Qiaishuo and said coldly, Sect Master Yunxi, you know the rules of the Poison Sect. If I tell you, I'm afraid I won't be able to live. I hope that you can let me leave this place for the sake of our sect master. I will definitely not bring any trouble to Yunxi City. Although Qiaishuo was not afraid, he still had to give Yunxi some face. Don't say such useless nonsense. I won't listen. Yunxi shook her head. Sect Master Yunxi, our two sects have never broken this rule. Qiaishuo glanced at Jiangchen. He did not know how this person had been able to enter the Yunxi sect, nor did he know why Sect Master Yunxi would help him so much. He did not even hesitate to destroy the rules that the sects of the western region had abided by but had not broken. What rules? Yunwei! Yunxi narrowed her peach blossom eyes. Sect Master, I'm here. Yunwei stepped forward. Give him 3 minutes. If he doesn't speak, just kill him. Yunxi stepped back. Her slender, white fingers moved slightly, and a peach blossom appeared. She sat on it. Yes, Sect Master. Yunwei agreed, and he turned his head to look at Jiangchen. Sect Master Yunxi, if you kill me, there will definitely be a war between our two sects. Qiaishuo could feel the murderous intent in Yunxi's words. He swallowed his saliva and shouted at the top of his voice. Our Yunxi sect has stood tall in the western region for so many years, and we have never been restrained by anyone's threats. Do you really think that your poison sect would dare to go to war with our Yunxi sect over a mere disciple? Yunxi sat on the peach blossom and said with a faint smile. However, anyone could hear the coldness in her words. Sect Master, I think we should discuss this with the other hill masters. After all, the poison sect is not a single sect. Offending this group of people is like being pestered by flies. Although it will not pose a threat to our Yunxi sect, it will cause trouble. Yunwei had already hesitated for a moment, but he could not help but walk up to Yunxi and ask softly, Are they the sect master, or am I the sect master? Yunxi raised her head and glared at him. I understand. Yunwei swallowed the rest of his words when he saw the look in Yunxi's eyes. Sect Master Yunxi, don't waste your energy. Even if you kill me today, I won't say anything. Yunwei gritted his teeth and said in a low voice. You have a backbone. Yunwei, bring him out. Yunxi was also a little enraged. She got up and walked outside after leaving these words behind. After receiving Yunxi's order, Yunwei stepped forward and released Jieishuo. He held his neck and pressed down on his shoulders as he followed behind. Chapter 1872. In the open space of the Sevenfold Mountain, Jieishuo was brought over by Yunwei. Many disciples who were patrolling at night were attracted. Even the disciples who were resting hid in the surroundings to watch. These disciples had been in the sect for thousands of years, but they had never seen Yunxi. Now that they knew that the sect master had come here personally, they all wanted to see her. After all, even though they hadn't seen her, there were still some rumors about her in the sect. Sect master, many disciples are watching. Sensing the situation around him, Yunwei put Jieishuo down and whispered to Yunxi. They are all disciples of our sect. If they want to watch, let them watch. It's also a good opportunity to let them see the attitude of the sect. If they really dare to go against us, no matter which sect they are from, they will face the same consequences. Yunxi stretched out her snow-white arm, and a slender sword appeared in her hand. Flash? Yunwei said in surprise. This was the most precious treasure of the Yunxi sect, the sword of Sect Master Yunxi. The sword technique, 100 Flowers, which was of the same origin as the slender sword, was also known as a sword technique that was on par with immortal King Xianjun's mastery of 10,000 swords. Flash. 100 Flowers. Under the gaze of many disciples, a cold voice came from Yunxi's mouth. A cold light flashed past. Sect Master Yunxi, I'll talk! Jieishuo's eyes were dull. When he felt the biting cold sword chi, he immediately spoke loudly. He knew that if he didn't beg for mercy, he might really die here. Oh! Yunxi stopped in front of him. The space behind her was already showing signs of collapsing. Jieishuo only had the strength of a monarch immortal. In the entire immortal world, except for the 3 immortal kings, almost no one could resist this sword technique. Sect Master Yunxi, please let me live. I'm willing to tell you everything. Jieishuo knelt on the ground and said with a trembling body. Jiangchen, come and ask. Yunxi carried the slender sword on her back. Where did the black plague in your body come from? Jiangchen walked forward and asked. I don't know. It's a secret technique in the sect. After cultivating it, it will become like this. Jieishuo shook his head. At this point, he could only tell the truth. Where are the people of Love Valley? Jiang continued to ask. In the sect. Jieishuo continued to answer. I heard that the sect master needed something from Love Despair Valley, but the sect master and elders of Love Despair Valley refused to tell me, so they kept them locked up and sent me to look for it. I didn't expect to meet you. What are you looking for? Jiangchen was relieved to hear that it was as he had guessed. Naylan Mayer and Wang Min were not in danger. It seems to be a crystal with an extremely cold attribute, but it might not be. Mao Yishuo thought for a moment. What is the relationship between the Black Poison Sect and the Black Sky Emperor and the Black Sect Master? Jiangchen narrowed his eyes and asked the question that he wanted to ask the most. I don't know who Black Sky Emperor is, but I know the sect master of the Black Gate. He has a good relationship with our sect and would come here occasionally. However, we have never seen what he looks like. Feng Yishuo sighed and continued. You can leave now. Jiangchen waved his hand. What? Zaishuo was somewhat shocked. I said you can leave this place. Jiangchen was not going to kill him after he asked the question that he wanted to know. After all, Sect Master Yunxi had gone to this extent for him. Jiangchen had to return some face and could not let the Yunxi sect get into trouble because of him. I can't leave. Feng Yishuo shook his head and refused without hesitation. Is there something wrong with your brain? You are a member of the Black Poison Sect. Why are you staying in our Yunshi sect? Yunshi was also very surprised. Sect Master Yunshi, Brother Jiangqin, I am a disciple of the Black Poison sect, but I have already told you everything that I can't say. If I go back like this, I will definitely die if I am exposed. Jie Shuo had a bitter expression on his face. The only place he could stay was in the Yunshi sect. Only there could he survive. Yun Wei, send him back to the prison. Since he likes to stay in the Yunshi sect, he can stay there for the rest of his life. Yunshi was speechless, and waved her hand casually. Yes, sect master. Yun Wei nodded and dragged Feng Yishuo, who was already paralyzed from fear, into the prison. They went up the mountain path. Jiang Chen's mind was filled with the swordsmanship that Yunshi had just displayed. He had now comprehended Xian Jun's mastery of 10,000 swords. He should be able to easily master all the swordsmanship in the immortal world. When he was watching just now, he could clearly feel that Yunshi's swordsmanship was not inferior to Xian Jun's. Sect Master Yunshi, what swordsmanship did you display just now? Jiang Chen cleared his throat and pretended to ask casually. Brilliant 100 flowers. It is one of the top swordsmanship in the Yunshi sect. When I display it, even your master may not be able to withstand its power. Yunshi replied softly. Oh? Jiang Chen asked in surprise. Is it because my master can't withstand it, or does he not dare to? How dare you make fun of me? Yunshi stopped in her tracks and looked at Jiang Chen with her hands on her hips. There was already some anger in her tone. I wouldn't dare. Sect Master Yunshi, please don't misunderstand. I just feel that my master is one of the 3 great celestial kings. He shouldn't be so weak. Jiang Chen hurriedly explained. Indeed. But it can be said that anyone below the 3 great celestial kings must be fully focused when facing my swordsmanship. As she spoke, Yunshi's tone was full of pride. Then can I learn it? Jiang Chen rubbed his hands. I'm afraid not. You are not an inner disciple of the Yunshi sect. You don't have the opportunity to cultivate. But unless... Yunshi shook her head. Unless what? Jiang Chen was interested. Unless I become the wife of the Tianji Pavilion's sect master. Yunshi put her hands behind her back. But she quickly remembered that Jiang Chen was the current sect master, so she hurriedly explained. Of course, the wife of the former sect master. Really? Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. I always keep my word. Yunshi snorted softly. Then it's a deal. I will help the sect master become the wife of Bai Xianling, and you will teach me the 100-blossom swordsmanship. Jiang Chen said immediately, for fear that Yunshi would regret it. Okay, it's a deal. Yunshi also said. Back in the guest room, Jiang Chen thought about what Jie Shuo said. It was best that Naylan Mayer and Wang Min were not in danger. However, this sect had a close relationship with the Black Sect master. Presumably, their strength would not be weak. It seemed impossible to rescue them from their hands without the help of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain and Qianhe sect. But Jiang Chen felt bad that he had troubled them to come from the north region to the west region. Chapter 1873. The next day, the Yunshi sect was suddenly in an uproar. Jiang Chen did not want to interfere, but Yun Wei suddenly barged in. Sect leader Yun Wei, what are you doing? Jiang Chen hurriedly got up from his bed and asked with a confused expression. Last night, the sect leader secretly attacked Feng Yishuo, and the other sect leaders found out. Now they are all gathered in the main hall, and they want to ask the sect leader what she means. Yun Wei sat in front of Jiang Chen and said with a frown. Oh? The sect leader of the Yunshi sect actually dared to question the sect leader? Upon hearing this, Jiang Chen was amused. Didn't I tell you that the Yunshi sect is really too powerful? The 9 mountains have already formed their own sections. Although they still belong to the Yunshi sect, the sect leader can't control them anymore. Yun Wei sighed and continued to explain. What do they mean? Are they going to criticize me? Jiang Chen put on his coat and asked. I don't know, but as the sect leader's man, how can you be so timid at this time? Yun Wei stood up and was about to push the door open. Cough, cough. What are you talking about? Jiang Chen almost spat out the water he just drank onto Yunwei. You want to eat up everything and not admit it? Upon hearing Jiang Chen's words, Yunwei's expression became serious. He had heard a lot of rumors about the relationship between the headmaster and the headmaster. Now that Jiang Chen had arrived, the headmaster had received him in person and even broken the unwritten rule among the sects of the Westfield for him. This confirmed his guess. However, Jiang Chen didn't want to admit what he had done. Yunwei was pissed off. Wait! Jiang Chen hurriedly waved his hand. When did I have a relationship with your sect leader? You are the pavilion leader of the Divine Secret Pavilion! Yunwei saw that Jiang Chen was really confused and hurriedly explained. Sect leader Yunqi has a good relationship with you. Otherwise, why would she personally summon you? Cloud Might Mountain Lord, you've misunderstood! Hearing this, Jiang Chen could not help but laugh out loud. What do you mean? This time, Yunwei was the one who was confused. It's true that I'm the pavilion master of the divination pavilion, but I'm not the one who's related to your sect master. It's my master, the previous pavilion master of the divination pavilion. Jiang Chen patted his shoulder and shook his head with a smile. If he did not explain it clearly, once Bai Xianling heard about it, she would definitely kill him in a fit of rage. I see. Yunwei had a simple and honest smile on his face. He didn't look as fierce and dignified as before. Then, Brother Jiang Chen, you should rest well. I'll go take a look myself. Wait a minute. Since it's about Sect Master Yunqi, I have to go and take a look. I can't just watch Master's woman get bullied. Jiang Chen stopped him. After tidying up his clothes, he went out with Yunwei. At this time, there were many disciples standing in the mountain gate of the first level mountain. These people were divided into 9 groups and stood in 9 different positions. Everyone's eyes were focused on the main hall. However, when Jiang Chen came out, they all looked at him. This is the sect master's man? Could it be that the sect master has been bewitched by him? Yes, I thought that only those with the strength of the 3 great celestial kings are worthy of the sect master. How could a level 3 divine immortal be related to the sect master? Don't talk nonsense. If the first elder hears you, he'll cut off your tongues. In the midst of the discussion, some disciples were afraid of the first elder's reputation. After they whispered a warning, the entire mountain gate quieted down. However, everyone was still looking at Jiang Chen. They wanted to know what kind of ability this lad had to be able to coax the sect master to fall in love with him. In the western region and even the entire immortal realm, those who were interested in their sect master could line up from the peak of the first level mountain to the foot of the 9th level mountain. Under Yunwei's lead, Jiang Chen walked in. Compared to the female mountain lords of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, only Mountain Lord Yang Zhu of the 8th mountain was a man. As for the Yunqi sect, it was like the 8 immortals crossing the sea. Among the 9 mountain lords, except for Yunqi and Yunwei, who Jiang Chen had seen before. As for the other mountain chieftains, they either looked like teenagers who had yet to reach adulthood, or were thin and frail old men who looked like they would be blown away by a gust of wind. Only 3 or 4 of them looked normal and looked like mountain lords. You're the pavilion lord of the Divine Secret Pavilion? Seeing Jiang Chen come in, the mountain lords turned their heads at the same time and looked at Jiang Chen. Ahem, mountain lords, I just took over as the pavilion lord of the Divine Secret Pavilion from my master. Please don't misunderstand. With Yunwei's reminder, Jiang Chen hurriedly waved his hand as soon as he came in, afraid that they would misunderstand. Oh? Although the group of mountain lords did not say anything, their expressions showed that they had relaxed a little. Jiang Chen, as the pavilion lord of the Divine Secret Pavilion, the Yunqi sect naturally has to treat you well. However, the situation in the western region is complicated. It's best if you don't interfere. It's like this. Although the Yunqi sect is second to none in the western region, we are also subject to various restrictions. We can't be the only sect. If the sect master completely falls out with the Poison Palm sect in order to help you, it won't be good news for our entire sect. An old woman and an old man spoke in unison. This made Jiang Chun wonder if there was some kind of special relationship between them. Mountain Lords, I don't mean to offend you. However, the Poison Palm sect has attacked several sects in the northern region and taken away my friends. I had no choice but to go to the western region to search for them. Knowing that they were not kind people, Jiang Chun took a deep breath and said to them with cupped hands, "Since you're going to search for your friends, please leave the Yunshi sect and don't involve us." The old man was not willing to pass on his responsibility, and his words were sharp. Jiang Chun glanced at Yunshi. Seeing Yunshi sitting at the head of the table with her hand on her forehead and looking very haggard, Jiang Chun had no intention of continuing to stay here. Now that Chiaishuo had explained the situation, he could leave here and investigate on his own. However, he probably would not have the opportunity to learn the sect master Yunshi's brilliant 100 flowers sword technique. The Pavilion Lord of the Divine Secret Pavilion is on an equal footing with your sect master Yunshi. Moreover, Jiang Chun is not only the Pavilion Lord of the Divine Secret Pavilion, but also the current young master of the 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect. By doing this, aren't you looking down on us too much? Just as Jiang Chun was about to turn and leave, Bai Xiaoyun walked in against the light with a folding fan in one hand and the other hand behind her back. Chapter 1874. The faint smile at the corner of his mouth made the faces of the female disciples in the hall turn red. "Eldest senior brother, why are you here?" Jiang Chun frowned slightly. He could tell from Bai Xiaoyun's look that she was going to fight with the Yunshi sect. Bai Xiaoyun waved her fan and walked in front of Jiang Chun, blocking him, and said calmly, "Leaders, it doesn't seem right to chase Jiang Chun out like this. Your Heavenly Secret Pavilion is merely a second-rate sect in the northern region. The 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect has long disappeared in the long river of time. I don't know what method your previous sect leader used to bewitch sect leader Yunshi, but now, please leave." The old man stepped forward, not taking Bai Xiaoyun seriously at all. "Old thing, don't be so shameless." Upon hearing this, Jiang Chun could not sit still. The old man had insulted the Heavenly Mystery Pavilion and the 10,000 Mounts Immortal School. He had already crossed Jiang Chun's bottom line. If Jiang Chun didn't have to give Sect Master Yunshi face, he would have surely fought this old man to the death. "How dare you! No matter who you are, don't be arrogant in the Yunshi sect." A low voice was heard, and Great Elder Yunji walked out, leaning on her walking stick as she looked at Jiang Chun. Seeing her, Yunshi's head hurt even more. He had been helping Jiang Chun get information about the Black Poison School in secret, but to his surprise, Grand Elder Yunji had found out about it. This morning, she had called all of the Lords of the Hill here to discuss the matter. Although she was the sect leader, she had been raised by Yunji. Yunshi had never dared to go against her wishes. Although she wanted to speak up for Jiang Chun, she did not dare to say anything. "Who are you?" Bai Xiaoyun looked at her. "Great Elder Yunji of the Yunshi sect." Yunji looked at Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyun. Due to her relationship with Bai Xianling, she did not have a good impression of the people from the Divination Pavilion. If it was not for the fact that she was worried that there would be a conflict in the main hall, she would not even bother to show her face. "Great Elder, we only came to the Yunshi sect to investigate Feng Lishuo. If we have disturbed you, we will leave now. However, if anyone dares to look down on the Tianji Pavilion and the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, don't blame me for being merciless." Bai Xiaoyun snorted coldly and put away her fan. "Sect Master, Great Elder, let me teach her a lesson." A young man around 26 or 27 years old stood up and pointed his long staff at Bai Xiaoyun. "A mere second-layer Immortal King," Bai Xiaoyun said with a smile. "Your cultivation is only at the second level of the Immortal King realm. If I gave you a chance, would you dare to fight me?" The young man was enraged by Bai Xiaoyun's words. He stood up and slammed the stick on the ground. Yunji looked at Bai Xiaoyun and then at her hill master. "All right, since you want to fight, I'll give you a chance." Yunji looked at Bai Xiaoyun and said, "If you can win, we'll write off everything that happened earlier. The Yunshi sect will provide you with convenience. However, if you lose, please leave the Yunshi sect immediately. In the future, No one from the Tianji Pavilion or the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect is allowed to step into Yunxi City. Otherwise, I'll treat all of you like how I treated the Poison Palm sect. All right, it's a deal. Bai Xiaoyun clapped her hands together and agreed in a deep voice. Bai Xiaoyun and the young man stood in front of the main hall under the watchful eyes of the hill masters and many disciples outside. Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Bai Xiaoyun's cultivation was almost the same as the young man's. If they really fought, it was very likely that both of them would be severely injured. Don't fight in the Yunxi sect! Great Elder Yunji walked out and waved her hand, opening up a bounded domain in front of the two of them. Bai Xiaoyun turned around and glanced at Jiang Chen, then jumped in. The young man also jumped in without hesitation. In an instant, waves of invisible fluctuations spread out from inside. One could imagine that if they were not in the bounded domain, the aftermath of the immortal force alone would be enough to make the disciples of the Yunxi sect suffer. Jiang Chen put his hands behind his back and watched the fluctuations in front of him. Yun Wei frowned. He knew that if the two of them fought, it would not end well. If Yun Lan lost, the hill masters in the sect would definitely not let Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun leave so easily. As a result, they would break off relations with the sects in the north region and even trigger a shocking war between the sections. If Bai Xiaoyun lost, with Jiang Chen's character, he would not let the matter rest. Sigh. Yun Wei sighed. When he realized that the development of the situation was out of his control, he did not continue to think about it. Instead, he quietly waited for the result. Half an hour passed. Suddenly, a figure flew out from the bounded domain. It's a Master Yun Lan! Many disciples looked up and were shocked when they saw the familiar figure. Even the mountain masters were astonished by this. On the other side, Bai Xiaoyun retreated out of the bounded domain and grunted twice. She forcefully swallowed the blood that was about to seep out of the corner of her mouth. I didn't expect you to have some skills! Yun Lan returned to the front of the main hall with an ashen face. He was naturally embarrassed that he was sent flying in front of so many disciples. Thank you, Hill Master Yun Lan, for going easy on me, Bai Xiaoyun said with a smile as she cupped her hands in salute. Since Bai Xiaoyun had defeated Yun Lan, the rest of the Yunxi sect could not say anything else. They could only invite the two of them back into the main hall. However, after listening to Jiang Chen's words, the hill masters immediately expressed that they would not help. Their words made Bai Xiaoyun laugh coldly. Are the dignified hill masters of the Yunxi sect going back on their words? Jiang Chen glanced at them and asked calmly. The great elder did say that he would provide you with convenience, but he never said that he would fight with the poisoned sect for you. You people from the north region do not know the situation in the west region. Moreover, we cannot break the rules in the west region for you. The skinny old man continued to speak. Oh? Can you tell us what the rules are? Jiang Chen continued to ask with a smile. Sect Master Jiang Chen, White Immortal King, if you want to know, then follow me. Seeing that Jiang Chen was determined to get to the bottom of the matter, Great Elder Yun Ji could only speak helplessly. Goodbye. Jiang Chen cupped his hands in salute, and followed behind Yun Ji with Bai Xiaoyun. Everyone looked at Jiang Chen's back and wanted to punch him hard. However, since even the Great Elder had spoken, they naturally did not dare to say anything. Go back, all of you. I have a headache and want to rest. Yunxi held her forehead and waved her hand gently at them. Some things really gave Yunxi a headache. After all, she had encountered such a troublemaker. What else could she say? Chapter 1875. Behind the Mountain Gate. Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun followed behind Yunji and walked deeper into the mountain gate. White Immortal King, I won't do anything to you. Don't worry. Sensing that Bai Xiaoyun's immortal qi was circulating and was about to rush out of her body at any time, Great Elder Yunji said. All right. Bai Xiaoyun withdrew her immortal qi. The three of them stopped in front of a thatched hut. Please come in. Yunji turned around and said, Great Elder, is this your residence? Jiang Chen looked back at the majestic mountain gate, and then at the dilapidated thatched hut in front of him, and asked in surprise. It's just a residence. As long as I have a straw mat to shelter myself, it's fine. Yunji smiled and pushed open the creaking wooden door. The interior of the thatched hut was slightly dim, and Jiangchun could not even see Bai Xiaoyun clearly. It was hard to imagine that the great elder of the Yunshi sect would actually live in such a place. Go ahead and ask. Ask everything you want to know. Yunji sat on a rattan chair and raised her hand. A ray of sunlight shone in from above the thatched hut, making the darkness inside less intense. I want to know the secrets of the few sects similar to the Black Poison sect that appeared in the western region in the past 10,000 years. Is there any connection between them and the Black Poison sect master and Black Sky Emperor? Jiangchun took a deep breath and asked directly. You know the Black Poison sect master and Black Sky Emperor? Who would have thought that this sentence would frighten Yunji? She sat up straight and looked at Jiangchun in disbelief. She originally thought that Jiangchun would ask about the Black Poison sect or ask the Yunshi sect to rescue the two kidnapped cultivators. I know. Jiangchun nodded. It's too long to say. Yunji sighed. Great Elder, you must know something about the situation, right? Jiangchun's interest was piqued when he saw her like this. Grand Elder, I hope you can tell me everything. It's very important to me. You're Wan Cheng's son, right? Yunji suddenly looked at Jiangchun. Yes, I am. Jiangchun cupped his hands and said. About 500,000 years ago, there was a great war in the immortal world. The sky-devouring golden dragons disappeared from the immortal world in order to protect that lord. Yunji had a complicated look in her eyes. She stared at Jiangchun for a while and realized that her opportunity might have arrived. Otherwise, Bai Xianling would not have accepted this lad as her disciple. Although she hated Bai Xianling because of Yunshi, she was still very clear-headed when it came to important matters. Sky-devouring golden dragon race? Jiangchun was a little surprised and said subconsciously. Even if I told you about this race, you wouldn't know. Yunji nodded and continued. After all, they've been missing for 500,000 to 600,000 years. Very few people in the immortal realm know about them. To tell you the truth, Great Elder. Jiangchun smiled. He shifted his consciousness to activate the golden dragon's bloodline power in his body. A golden dragon shadow floated out. You're the descendant of the sky-devouring golden dragon? No, you're the son of Wan Qing. How could you have the power of the sky-devouring golden dragon bloodline? Yunji stood up in shock when she saw the shadow. But after a while, she sat down on the rattan chair again. However, she looked at Jiangchun with more surprise. Some time ago, I got the power of the sky-devouring golden dragon race's bloodline by chance. I also got some of the inheritance of the old patriarch. Jiangchun said after keeping it. About 300,000 years after the disappearance of the sky-devouring golden dragon race, another great war broke out in the immortal world. Yunji suppressed the shock in her heart and continued. Tianji sect and Heitian D. Jiangchun calculated the time. How do you know about this? Yunji looked at Jiangchun again. Some time ago, the tomb of the Qianji monarch appeared in the eastern region. I got the inheritance of the Qianji monarch. Jiangchun continued to tell the truth. Yunji fell silent. She realized that the Jiangchun in front of her might really be the chosen one. According to the meaning of Elder Yunji, the sky-devouring golden dragon race and the Tianji sect are fighting with Heitian D in order to protect the lord, right? Jiangchun asked while twisting his fingers. Yes. When the Qianji monarch fell and the Tianji sect was destroyed, everyone thought that Heitian D also dissipated. But now, 200,000 years have passed, and this person has vaguely shown signs of reappearing. However, in today's world, I am afraid that there is no expert who can fight against them. Even if the three immortal kings join forces, they are not their opponents. Yunji sighed and continued. Then these sects are the subordinates of Heitian D, right? Bai Xiaoyun interjected. Strictly speaking, they are not. Now that Heitian D has not appeared in the immortal realm, the cultivation methods and techniques used by these sects are only similar to his, and cannot be determined by this. But even so, when these sects join forces, even our Yunshi sect can't easily provoke them. This is also an unwritten rule in the Western region. All sects try to avoid them and don't have any grievances with them. Yunji nodded and said, "Could it be that He Tiandi will really be resurrected?" Jiangchen frowned. "It's hard to say. Back then, He Tiandi was only seriously injured by the Lord and the Qianji monarch. In theory, he will fall, but this person is really too strange. Whether he fell or is hiding somewhere in the immortal realm, no one knows." Yunji took a deep breath. "The sect master of He Tiandi is also one of He Tiandi's people, right?" Jiangchen asked again after he had memorized all of this. "I'm not very sure about the sect master of He Tiandi, but he should be a sect in the outer region." Yunji thought for a while and said, "Strictly speaking, all the sects in the outer region are related to He Tiandi. It is said that the outer region was no different from the mainland of the immortal realm until He Tiandi appeared. He Tiandi also became like this in the unknown territory." Thinking of some of the things he knew before, Jiangchen said in a low voice, "I didn't expect you to know even this. I underestimated you." Yunji smiled. "I only know a little." Jiangchen waved his hand. "Legend has it that He Tiandi was infected with a plague somewhere in the unknown territory. This plague not only did not kill him, but also greatly improved his cultivation." Seeing that Jiangchen knew about the situation, Yunji told him what she knew. "Then does Great Elder Yunji know what the unknown domain is like?" Jiangchen sat up straight. "I don't know. Maybe it's the same as the immortal realm. Maybe it's a wilderness with danger everywhere." Yunji shook her head. Chapter 1876. "But the only thing I can be sure of is that it must contain something that countless cultivators will rush for. It may be an opportunity to ascend to the next plane." Jiangchen was a little stunned. He had reincarnated 10 times, and the immortal world was the highest plane. How could there be a plane above the immortal world? "As far as I know, there are hundreds if not thousands of planes. You've only reincarnated 10 times, so you still know too little. Our immortal world is indeed stronger than the lower planes, but compared to those above, it's not enough." Seeing Jiangchen's puzzled expression, Yunji could also guess what he was thinking. "So that's how it is." Jiangchen gradually had some general understanding in his heart. Thinking that he had just ascended to the immortal world, Xian Jun was scared by Zhou Kunlun and did not dare to make a move. Jiangchen had reason to suspect that Zhou Kunlun, this old thing, might belong to the immortal world and was forced to establish a foothold in the immortal world for some reason. "That's all I know," Li Yundong said. "What I didn't expect is that you actually obtained the inheritance of the sky-devouring Golden Dragon clan and the Tianji sect. Maybe in the immortal world, it's up to you to stabilize the situation, but at present, your strength is too weak." Yunji glanced at Jiangchen and said, "Great Elder Yunji, I'm just a third-layer immortal, and I only want to ascend to the immortal world to investigate the reason why the 3 immortal kings attacked my father, and let the 10,000 mounts immortal sect reappear in the lower realm. I really can't bear such a big responsibility," Jiangchen said with a wry smile. "Maybe when you really shoulder these things, you will understand." Yunji hesitated for a moment. "I hope so." Jiangchen took a deep breath. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't catch his father, Jiangchen would have to ask him face to face. He had gone through 10 reincarnations to return to the immortal world. He originally thought that his father had a very miserable life. Who would have thought that he was so carefree? Then his 10 reincarnations were lonely? "Then what are you going to do next?" Yunzhuang asked. "Investigate the poison gate and save my friend," Jiangchen replied in a deep voice. "If they dare to stop me, then I will make the Poison Palm sect completely disappear from the immortal world. Even if Black Sky Emperor comes to me personally, I will not back down even half a step." "You have guts. No wonder Monarch Qianji chose you as his successor." Yunji smiled. "Great Elder Yunji, let's meet again another day." Jiangchen stood up and clasped his hands at her. He then turned around and left with Bai Xiaoyun. Now that he had asked everything he wanted to know, it was time to settle the score with the vanquished poison sect. The longer he delayed, the worse it would be. Even if he could deduce that Nayland Mayer and Wang Min's lives were not in danger, the longer he delayed, the worse it would be. Wait. If you really want to investigate the Black Poison sect, you can go to the Crow's Nest Academy to take a look. Seeing that Jiang Chen was so anxious, Yunji stood up with the help of her walking stick and hurriedly said, "Academy?" Jiang Chen frowned. This academy has only appeared in the western region in the past 10,000 years. It is backed by the Black Poison sect and a few other sections. They recruit young cultivators from the western region and even the entire immortal world. Some who have just ascended from the lower world will also be roped in. I suspect that they are recruiting these cultivators for a certain purpose. Yunji nodded and said, "Great Elder, do you mean that you want me to enter this academy to cultivate?" Jiang Chen was a little helpless. If that was the case, it would be a long time before he could investigate the Black Poison sect. "I'm asking you to investigate this academy, not to become a disciple like the other cultivators. However, it's not impossible for you to investigate the Hell Poison sect directly," Yunji said helplessly. "Understood." Jiang Chen clasped his hands at her. The two of them turned into flowing lights and disappeared from the Yunshi sect. After seeing them leave, Yunshi immediately rushed over. "Great Elder, did you drive them away?" Yunshi asked reluctantly when she saw the two flowing lights rushing down the mountain. "They left on their own," Yunji said casually. "Where did they go?" Yunshi was still hoping that Jiang Chen would bring her to see Bai Xianling. "They went to the Black Poison sect," the Great Elder said faintly. "Do you know that you almost caused trouble because of them? Let's not talk about whether the Yunshi sect is afraid of the Black Poison sect. Once the news spread, I am afraid that the sects in the western region will isolate us. It is not that serious." Yunshi smiled faintly. "All right, I know that you want to please them and get them to bring you to see Bai Xianling." The Great Elder looked at Yunshi and continued, "Let me tell you, when Bai Xianling gives you a status, I will accept him." After leaving the Yunshi sect, they went to the city to pick up Long Dade, and the three of them rushed to the western region. However, there was some unrest in the Black Poison sect. As the eldest disciple of the sect, Feng Yishua had mysteriously disappeared after going to the northern region. There was no news about him at all. For a moment, many people in black rushed out from the deep forest and headed to the northern region. Jiang Chen and the other two did not listen to the Great Elder's suggestion to go to the Crow's Nest Academy. They rushed directly to the Black Poison sect. As they learned more about the situation, Jiang Chen was not going to do those useless things anymore. The most important thing was to save the people from the Love Valley as soon as possible. 2 days later, the three of them arrived at the deep forest. According to the Great Elder, this was where the Black Poison sect was located. It is a bit like the Corpse Cliff. Looking at the miasma floating in the deep forest, Bai Xiaoyun held the long sword in her hand and said softly. Long Dade stood behind Jiang Chen and swallowed his saliva as he asked, "I say, with the three of us, we can't go to their sect to save people, right? It's just a Black Poison sect." Jiang Chen snorted coldly and stepped into the forest. The moment he entered, his immortal power gushed out and blocked the miasma. Just as the three of them entered, the Black Poison sect also sensed it. "Who has broken into my Black Poison forest?" In the deep forest, an extremely hoarse and unpleasant voice sounded. "Jiang Chen of the northern region." Jiang Chen replied coldly. "Release the sect master, elders, and disciples of the Love Valley. Otherwise, I will flatten your Black Poison sect." "So it's the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect." "Previously, when you re-established the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect in the northern region, we were quite shocked. I didn't expect to see your glory." After hearing Jiang Chen's words, the hoarse voice laughed. "Release them or not?" Jiang Chen took a deep breath and asked in a low voice. Chapter 1877. Please come to the sect for a seat. We'll talk about it later. After the voice appeared, the miasma in front of Jiang Chen suddenly separated, forming a path that led to the depths of the forest. Looking at such a strange scene, Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun looked at each other and walked in. Long Dade followed behind, but he did not dare to say a word. He had just ascended to the immortal world and already met such an opponent. He really could not help at all. 10 minutes later, the three of them walked to the front of a circular hall. Looking at the miasma lingering around the building, Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes. It was best to be prepared to fight at any time. The West region was not like the North region. There were not so many experts standing behind him to help him. Once he entered, other than Bai Xiaoyun and Long Dade, no one could help him. Young Master Jiang, are you afraid? Seeing Jiang Chen standing there motionless, the voice rang out once again. Ha ha, there is no place in the immortal world that I dare not go. Jiang Chen laughed. After the black door of the hall opened, he took the lead and walked in. Behind him, Bai Xiaoyun and Long Dade followed closely. Ka! Just as they entered, the door slammed shut. It was pitch black inside, and almost nothing could be seen clearly. Young Master Jiang, we haven't seen each other for a long time. A voice sounded, and a figure in a black robe gradually appeared in front of them. Looking at the other party, Jiang Chen felt a sense of familiarity. Pretending to be mysterious! Bai Xiaoyun snorted coldly, and with a flick of her sleeve, the originally dark hall instantly became incomparably bright. Jiang Chen finally saw who was standing in front of him. Sun Fu? Jiang Chen frowned slightly. Do you know him? Bai Xiaoyun asked in a low voice. More than just know him. Jiang Chen suddenly laughed. When I was still in the immortal world in my previous life, this person was my sworn enemy. When our 10,000 creations immortal sect was in trouble, he even hid us when we were down. I really did not expect that he would become Black Sky Emperor's lackey. It's been too long. I've already forgotten about it. Ma Fu walked in front of Jiang Chen and said in a hoarse voice. I forgot to tell you, my current name is Ma Fu, the sect master of the Ma Fu sect. Hand over the sect master and elders of Love Despair Valley. Looking at him, Jiang Chen felt a wave of disgust. Don't be in such a hurry. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Why don't we sit down and have some tea, reminisce about the past, and tell me some interesting stories about your 10 reincarnations? Shi Fu flicked his black robe and sat on the chair beside him, saying, I don't have time to waste with you. If you don't hand him over, today will be the day your Poison Palm sect is destroyed. Jiang Chen's heart sank, and the phantom of a phoenix appeared behind him. The 7-colored longsword also floated beside him. Do you think you can still do as you please after joining my Poison Palm sect? Sensing Jiang Chen's strength, Ma Fu slapped the armrest, causing the wooden chair to move back several meters. Then, a thick fog floated up. More than a dozen puppets with the strength of immortal venerables and immortal monarchs blocked in front of him. Corpse Cliff's method? Jiang Chen stared at these zombies. Oh, right, if you didn't mention it, I almost forgot that the Eastern region's Corpse Cliff was also destroyed by your hands. Ma Fu was stunned, but quickly recovered and said with a smile, Today, we'll settle the old and new grudges together. I'll let you know that the current immortal world doesn't allow you to do whatever you want. Stand back, I'll deal with these things. Bai Xiaoyun stretched out her hand and stopped Jiang Chen, saying faintly. Jiang Chen didn't try to show off. The puppets of immortal venerables and immortal monarchs weren't something he could easily deal with. Who are you? Seeing Bai Xiaoyun stand out, Ma Fu asked. Bai Xiaoyun, the eldest disciple of the heavenly secret pavilion in the northern region. Bai Xiaoyun whispered. The longsword floated up. With a wave of his hands, it suddenly split into more than a dozen swords. Each of the swords contained an extremely dense and piercingly cold sword qi. Sect origin swords? Jiang Chen blurted out involuntarily when he sensed the familiar sword energy, and glanced at the movement that seemed familiar to him. What Bai Xiaoyun displayed was the same sword technique that Xian Er had used in his formation back in the Jade Sword sect. But how did Big Senior Brother learn this sword technique of immortal King Xianjun? Is this move called Sect Origin Swords, Little Junior Brother? While Jiang Chen was puzzled, Bai Xiaoyun turned her head and asked in a low voice. Your move, don't tell me you don't know it? Jiang Chen was speechless. Master taught it to me. He said that it's a sword technique that he created himself. It doesn't have a name, and he also said that I can't use it casually. Bai Xiaoyun controlled the long sword to stab at the puppet, and said casually. This time, Jiang Chen finally understood. He remembered that Bai Xianling told him that she wanted to steal an ancient immortal king's seal and formation for him. This sect origin swords was probably stolen by Bai Xianling from immortal king Xianjun. The reason why she didn't let Bai Xiaoyun use it casually was that she was afraid that it would be exposed and attract immortal king Xianjun's attention. Under Bai Xiaoyun's control, more than a dozen longswords collided with more than a dozen puppets. Although his strength was above the second-tier immortal king realm, he was facing so many puppets alone. Moreover, the puppets couldn't feel any pain at all. As long as the core in their bodies was not destroyed, they would continue to attack even if all their limbs were broken. Fourth Great King! Huafu crossed his legs and stretched out his hand. Several pitch-black beams of light appeared. Dade, lend me the sky-splitting spear! Seeing the aura of 4 immortal kings coming from the beams of light, Jiang Chen took a deep breath and stretched out his hand to Long Dade. You must be careful. Long Dade took out the sky-splitting spear from his storage ring and handed it to Jiang Chen. Then, he took 2 steps back and reminded him. If Jiang Chen were to encounter any danger here, he would also be in serious trouble. After all, the 2 of them had signed a master-servant contract. As the servant, he couldn't live. The moment Jiang Chen held the broken spear, it immediately shone with a golden light. The sharp spear light swept to the top of the main hall, as if it was going to tear the building apart. The 4 great kings of my poison palm sect are all above the immortal king realm. No matter how fancy your immortal skills are, you won't be a match for them. Jiang Chen, I don't know if I should say that you're confident or arrogant. How dare you trespass into my poison palm forest with only the protection of an immortal king? Seeing Jiang Chen's actions, Huafu laughed out loud. He was even prepared to kill Jiang Chen. Who said that there's only one immortal king? Suddenly, an extremely domineering immortal chi appeared. Then, the door of the main hall was forced open. Yunwei Mountain Lord? Seeing who it was, Jiang Chen asked in surprise. Chapter 1878. Brother Jiang Chen, you are really brave. You actually dared to barge into the Poison Palm sect alone. Yunwei held a long spear in his hand. However, he was immediately attracted by Jiang Chen's sky-breaking spear. I'm afraid this long spear is not ordinary, right? It's just SOSO. Jiang Chen casually explained. Yunwei Mountain Master from the Yinshi sect? You barged into my sect. Are you trying to violate the rules between us? Ma Fu asked in shock when he recognized the other party. In the past 10,000 years, although the Yinshi sect had captured his disciples, they had never had the nerve to attack them. However, at that moment, they had the nerve to break in, and it seemed like they were on good terms with Jiang Chen. Ji Fu, the Yinshi sect doesn't want to interfere with what you did in the West Field, and we won't interfere. But if you want to hurt Jiang Chen, you'll have to ask for my permission first. Yunwei walked in front of Jiang Chen. His powerful voice reverberated throughout the entire hall. Since you want to die, you can stay here with me. Ma Fu slammed his hands on the ground and shouted in a frenzy. Almost in an instant, the whole hall collapsed. The place where Jiang Chen and his companions were standing was rising higher and higher. The surroundings also became empty. When the hall's surroundings had completely disappeared, Jiang Chen looked around in surprise. Is this the Poison Palm sect? Jiang Chen asked softly as he looked at the black halls in front of him and the empty space under his feet. This sect is really strange. Yunwei held the long spear in his hand tightly and said, Brother Jiang Chen, why didn't you listen to the Great Elder and go to the Crow's Nest Academy to investigate the situation? Saving people is more important. Jiang Chen replied indifferently. Let's deal with the situation in front of us first. Bai Xiaoyun took a deep breath and took 2 steps back. Like Yunwei, she stood opposite Jiang Chen. The place where the 3 of them were now standing was the true interior of the Poison Palm sect, and the main hall at the very beginning was very likely built by Ma Fu to lower Jiang Chen's vigilance. Just as the three of them were talking, over 100 black figures appeared. Yue, for the sake of the Yunshi sect, as long as you leave this place, I can pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, I'm afraid that you, the mountain master of the Yunshi sect, will die here. Ma Fu floated down from the air, looked at Yun Wei and said in a low and hoarse voice, "Hand over the people of Love Despair Valley, and we will leave immediately." Yun Wei held the spear in his hand and pointed it at Tu Fu. "For great kings, listen up! Leave Yun Wei here forever!" Zi Fu didn't say anything superfluous. With a wave of his hand, the four immortal monarchs appeared once again. More than a dozen puppets with strength above Immortal Venerable walked out of the black fog. "Little junior brother, protect yourself. Let's get rid of these things in front of us first." Bai Xiaoyun glanced at Jiang Qin and leaped forward, blocking the puppets in front of her. "Mountain Master Yun Wei, you came out to help me. If Great Elder Yunji knew about this, she would probably blame you, right?" Jiang Qin held the sky-breaking spear and stood in front of Long Dade as he asked in a low voice. "It was the Great Elder who asked me to come." Yun Wei suddenly laughed. "Oh?" Jiang Qin was a little surprised. "It seems that the Great Elder has a good impression of you." Seeing the four great kings rushing over, Yun Wei leaped up and stood between them. "Don't worry, brother Jiang Qin. With me here, the people of the Poison Palm sect won't have a chance to hurt you." The smile on Jiang Chen's face disappeared. Jiang Chen had a good impression of the Yunshi sect's great elder. From what she had told him, he could tell that she was a cultivator with a strong sense of justice. While Bai Xiaoyun blocked the puppets and Yun Wei blocked the four great kings, Jiang Chen's gaze landed on Ma Fu, who was not far away. He raised his spear and attacked. Jiang Chen's figure flashed past. The golden spear tip pierced toward Ma Fu's chest, accompanied by the sound of wind breaking and the faint sound of space shattering. "Young Master Jiang, do you think that I can still be bullied and humiliated by you?" Facing Jiang Chen's attack, Ma Fu was not afraid. Instead, he was very excited. His pitch-black robe swelled up and clouds of black fog spread out. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Chen was completely shrouded in it. "Little junior brother! Brother Jiang Chen!" Bai Xiaoyun and Yun Wei frowned when they saw this, but since they couldn't free themselves, they couldn't go to Jiang Chen's rescue. In the black fog, Jiang Chen closed his eyes tightly. His senses had been sealed by the black fog. The only thing that was useful was to use his immortal power to determine the other party's location. "Young Master Jiang, you're too bold. How dare you break into our Poison Palm sect? Do you know that once several of our sects join forces, even the Yunshi sect can't resist us?" At this time, Ma Fu had completely released his aura. Second layer Immortal King. Jiang Chen's expression was solemn. "Well, you won't understand even if I tell you this. Since you want to see the people of Love Valley, you can stay here forever. You can also tell me some interesting things about the lower domain." "Oh? Is that so?" Jiang Chen's expression suddenly relaxed. Seeing the sudden change in Jiang Chen, Ma Fu was a little puzzled. However, he remembered that the sect master of the Black Sect had once told him that if they did not get rid of Jiang Chen, he would definitely become a disaster for them in the future. If they killed him and left his soul body behind, their plan would succeed. "There are still 3 minutes left." Jiang Chen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. When his voice fell, the power of the golden dragon and the power of the phoenix in his body gushed out at the same time. His entire body turned into a sharp spear light and pierced toward a certain place in the black fog. Clang! The tip of the spear collided with the pitch-black fog. The huge rebound caused Jiang Chen's entire body to tremble. Even the hand that was holding the sky-splitting spear felt numb. "With your current immortal cultivation, you're no match for me at all." A cold laugh sounded, followed by several black rods attacking Jiang Chen from all directions. "Beginning of all beginnings," Jiang Chen shouted in a low voice. The wood attribute heaven and earth and the surrounding deep forest gathered toward him. In less than 3 seconds, thick trees rose from the black fog and wrapped Jiang Chen up. Smack! The black rod stabbed into the tree trunk, but did not cause the slightest harm to Jiangchen. Sure enough, Jiangchen curled the corners of his mouth into a cold smile when he witnessed such a weird technique. Now he could be sure that these sects in the Western Domain and the sect master of the Black Sect were absolutely inseparable. Even when he saw the parts of the trees that were inserted quickly decayed and withered, he was even more certain that these sects were likely to be related to the Black Sky Emperor. The attack did not succeed. Ma Fu did not stop there. Chapter 1879. The whole cloud of black mist suddenly became extremely unstable. Ma Fu got out of it and looked at Jiangchen, who was shrouded in black mist below. He stretched out his palm and clenched it hard. Suddenly, a terrifying fluctuation hit. The cloud of black mist directly exploded. The resulting fluctuation raised nearly 1/3 of the forest to the ground. "Haha, do you really think you're still the omnipotent young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect?" Looking at the situation below, Ma Fu couldn't help but sneer. However, his laughter didn't stop. Jiang Chen's figure suddenly rushed out of the black mist. At this time, Jiang Chen's body was covered with pale golden scales, and a pair of wings flashing with colorful light appeared on his back. Although there was some blood at the corner of his mouth, he didn't seem to be seriously injured. "What?" Seeing Jiang Chen, Ma Fu's smile froze. Just when he was stunned, Jiang Chen had already rushed in front of him. One pupil was golden, while the other pupil was slowly flowing with colorful light. Even the sky-splitting spear in his hand was faintly attached with different attributes of immortal power. "Do you really think I'm vulnerable?" Jiang Chen stood in front of Ma Fu. Before his voice died away, the long spear in his hand pierced through the sky and smashed Ma Fu's body. Bang! Ma Fu fell to the ground, creating a deep pit. 2 more minutes. Jiang Chen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and rushed down again. Ma Fu got up from the deep pit. Although Jiang Chen's attack was extremely fierce, his cultivation was only in the divine immortal realm, so it wouldn't cause much damage to him. However, the strength that Jiang Chen showed shocked him. In this case, the fate of the black sex subsects in the northern region was understandable. Cough, cough. It's really surprising. Ma Fu stood up and patted the dust off his body. Except for the wound on his face caused by the spear light, he almost didn't suffer any injuries. Even his aura was slightly messed up. To be able to use such an attack as a divine immortal, you are the most talented person I have ever seen. Unfortunately, you won't have the chance to improve. Ma Fu reached out and wiped the wound on his face. Looking at the blood on his finger, he licked it with his tongue and his eyes became crazed. Jiang Chen did not dare to act rashly. 1.5 minutes. If he was not careful, he might really die here. The rainbow-colored radiance on the sky-splitting spear gradually faded and lingered on Jiang Chen's left hand. In a breath's time, a rainbow-colored longsword appeared. "You have quite a few moves." Yan Fu stretched out his hand. There was a throbbing in the wood. A dense swarm of crows flew out from inside, and in the blink of an eye, the entire poison palm sect was covered. The sect, which still had some light, instantly became pitch black. Jiang Chen frowned slightly. He found that his immortal power and perception were all locked inside. He couldn't sense the situation outside at all. "Little junior brother, did you provoke him?" Bai Shaoyun took 2 steps back. Facing more than a dozen puppets of immortal supremacies and immortal lords alone, even if he was not defeated, the immortal power in his body was somewhat terrifying. Even his face was a little pale. "I guess so." Jiang Chen nodded and said, "We were a little impulsive this time. If we barged in with just the 2 of us, we might not be able to save them. Instead, we might even die here." Bai Shaoyun took a deep breath and gradually stabilized her aura. "Don't we have helpers?" Jiang Chen said as he pointed to Yun Wei, who was beating the 4 great kings until they were retreating. "I'm afraid it'll be a little difficult for him to do it alone." Bai Shaoyun looked at Yun Wei. The 2 of them were both immortal kings, and their strength should be about the same. However, these puppets and the 4 people who were called the 4 Great Kings were just the strength that the Poison Palm sect had revealed. Since they could make the Yunshi sect somewhat afraid and consecutively destroy several sects in the North region, they were definitely not as simple as they seemed. Who said it's his own? Sensing that the time limit was approaching 3 minutes, Jiangchen suddenly relaxed and withdrew all his immortal qi into his body. Have you given up? Bai Xiaoyun asked curiously when she saw Jiangchen like this. No, but the helpers are here. We can rest for a while. Jiangchen sat on the stone steps next to her and said, What helpers? Bai Xiaoyun was even more confused. Master of the Poison Palm sect, if you dare to hurt Jiangchen, I'm afraid there's no need for your Poison Palm sect to exist in the West region. Just as Bai Xiaoyun was puzzled, a cold voice rang out. The crows circling in the sky immediately dispersed, and then several figures swept over from midair and stood in front of Jiangchen and the others. People from the Yunshi sect? Bai Xiaoyun's eyes widened when she saw Yunshi, who was dressed in a light pink dress, and several Yunshi sect experts behind her. Yes. Jiangchen looked relaxed and said with a smile. Won't they not attack the Poison Palm sect and the other sects? Bai Xiaoyun was even more confused. And how do you know that they will definitely help? If they don't come, won't we die here? Eldest senior brother, you must have forgotten. Jiangchen was even happier when he heard this. 10 directions divination? Bai Xiaoyun thought carefully and suddenly looked at Jiangchen and said, Yes, I made a divination when I left the Yunshi sect and knew that they would definitely help. That's why I went directly to the Poison Palm sect to save them. Otherwise, with just the 2 of us, I'm afraid we would really die here. Jiangchen nodded. I was wondering why you were so reckless this time. It turns out that you had a plan. Bai Xiaoyun felt relaxed and happy. Then she lowered her head and asked slyly, Little junior brother, if you have time, make a divination again and see when I can find a wife. Jiangchen was speechless. When the people from the Yunshi sect appeared here, everyone from the Poison Palm sect, including Ma Fu, was stunned. In the past tens of thousands of years, both sides had coexisted peacefully in the western regions. Although there were occasional conflicts, both sides had taken a step back and had never formally fought. However, this time, Yunshi had brought the experts from the sect. This made Ma Fu think twice. Sect Master Yunshi, I wonder why you have come to my sect with such fanfare? Ma Fu waved his hand and dismissed all the crows. He then asked with a fake smile, There are a total of 3 things. First, to return your eldest disciple to you. As soon as Yunshi finished speaking, Jie Shuo was brought out. What's going on? Ma Fu's face was gloomy as he looked at Jie Shuo, who was trembling and pale. Jie Shuo trespassed into my Yunshi city and was caught by Mountain Lord Yue. This time, I specially brought him to your Poison Palm sect. Is there a problem? Yunshi looked up. Chapter 1880. Of course, there's no problem. Yuan Fu stretched out his hand. A suction force burst forth from his palm and sucked Jie Shuo in front of him. Sect Master. Jie Shuo's legs went weak. He remembered what he had said in the Yunshi sect. Once the sect master found out, he would definitely die. He might even be subjected to the most painful torture in the sect. Look at you! Do you even have half the grace of the eldest disciple of the poison sect? Yuan Fu looked at him with disdain and said with a frown. I'm sorry, sect master, Jie Shuo stammered. The second thing is to release the people of Love Despair Valley. Return them to me the same way you captured them. If any of them are harmed, I will hold you accountable. Yunshi's voice was cold. Sect Master Yunshi, do you really want to become enemies with the poison sect? Yuan Fu took a deep breath. So you mean you won't release them, right? Yunshi did not waste time talking nonsense with him, and directly ordered. All mountain lords, listen up. I want to see the poison sect disappear from the western region within the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. Yes, sect master! Several mountain lords stepped forward, and their fierce auras were undoubtedly displayed. Under such pressure, Yuan Fu had no choice but to give in, Although the combined strength of these few sects was indeed impressive, the Yunshi sect had come too suddenly. It was too late to contact them now. They were far from being a match for Yunshi and her group. Wait! For the sake of Sect Master Yunshi, I will release them. Seeing that the people of the Yunshi sect were about to attack, Yuan Fu hurriedly waved his hand to interrupt. Let them go. Yunshi nodded gently. Sect Master, if we let them go, the icy soul pearl. One of the four great kings walked up to Yuan Fu and whispered to him. Don't talk nonsense. Bring them all out. Do you think with our strength, we are a match for the Yunshi sect in a one-on-one fight? Yuan Fu gritted his teeth. As the sect master, how could he not consider the things that his subordinates had considered? During this period of time, he had sent people to the northern snowfield in order to find the icy soul pearl. Now he was sure that it was in the Love Valley. He sent people to interrogate it and sent people to investigate again. They had not expected that Feng Yishuo, who had been sent out to search, would be captured. Before they could even interrogate him, the Yunshi sect had already come to ask for him. Sifu stared at Jiang Chen. He had heard some things about the northern and eastern regions. He knew that Jiang Chen had a lot of helpers behind him. Several subsects of the dark sect were easily dealt with by him. However, he had only heard of it before. Now, he had come into contact with it. He did not know why Jiang Chen was able to get the Yunshi sect to help him. However, if he did not release them today, he was afraid that he would not be able to send them off. Under the command of the talisman. About 10 minutes later, about 20 to 30 people were brought out by the four great kings from somewhere in the sect. Even though they were far away, Jiang Chen could still see Naylan Mayer and Wang Min at a glance. Sect Master Yunshi, I have released them. What is the third thing you said? Yuan Fu took a deep breath and squeezed his voice out through gritted teeth. Yunshi looked around. She saw the disciples of the poison sect gathered here. You'd better restrain yourself. Don't continue to attack the young practitioners of the western regions. Don't let them go down this crooked path. Otherwise, you will suffer retribution sooner or later. Yunshi's heart ached when she saw that all these young practitioners had gone down the crooked path. Sect Master Yunshi doesn't need to remind me. What path they choose is their own choice. It has nothing to do with you or the Yunshi sect. Upon hearing this, Yuan Fu sneered. The Yunshi sect was in charge of everything. Now, they were trying to control their sect. This was the funniest joke he had ever heard. You are! Wang Min and Heartless Qingzi came out with a group of elders and disciples of the Love Valley. When they saw Yunshi, they were all at a loss. They had never seen these people before. Why would these people come to their rescue? Jiang Chen, is it them? Yunshi did not speak to them. Instead, she turned her head and asked Jiang Chen, who was sitting behind her. Cough, cough. Thank you for your help, Sect Master Yunshi. Jiang Chen got up. After coughing twice, he cupped his hands and thanked Yunshi. Master! I knew you would save me! Upon seeing Jiang Chen, Naylan Mayer rushed over and threw herself into Jiang Chen's arms. She cried. You have been wronged. Jiang Chen patted her back gently. Master, you don't know. This sect is really weird. Naylan Mayer curled up in Jiang Chen's arms and refused to come out. In her opinion, in the entire immortal world, Jiang Chen's arms were the safest. Let's go back first. I have to deal with the matter at hand. Jiang Chen comforted her softly. Naylan Mayer nodded and stood behind Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen took a deep breath, looked at Ma Fu, and said in a deep voice, Master Ma Fu, I will remember today's grudge. If you dare to attack my people in the future, don't blame me for being impolite to you. If it weren't for the Yunshi sect, I would have killed all of you here. Yuan Fu's face was gloomy, and he gritted his teeth. Letting Jiang Chen go was a small matter, but letting the people of the Love Valley go meant that they had lost the information about the icy soul pearl. It would be more difficult to find it in the future. Thank you very much. Wang Min led the people of the Love Valley to Jiang Chen and said with a complicated look in her eyes. From the moment she was captured, she had already lost her confidence. The Love Valley had never been on good terms with any sect. Now, no one would help them. But she did not expect that Jiang Qun and his helpers would rescue them from the Poison Valley in such a domineering way. Sect Master Wang Min, when the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect was established, why didn't you come and participate? Jiang Qun asked with a smile. I didn't want to go. Wang Min shook her head and said, Well, if you don't want to go, then don't go. Jiang Qun did not pursue the matter. He turned to Yun Shi and cupped his hands. Sect Master Yun Shi, let's go back. Under Yun Shi's command, everyone retreated from the Poison Valley. After leaving the forest, they rushed in the direction of the Yun Shi sect. 4 hours later, everyone returned to the main hall of the first-level mountain. Thanks to the support of Sect Master Yun Shi and Grand Elder Yun Ji, even though the other lords didn't want to fall out with the Poison House and other sects because of Jiang Qun, they had to do as they were told. However, they were all looking at Jiang Qun unhappily. Sect Master Yun Shi, thank you for your help. Wang Min and Heartless Qingzi stood in the middle of the main hall and bowed to Yun Shi, who was sitting at the head of the table. Sect Master Wang Min, there is something I don't know if I should ask. Yun Shi raised her slender finger slightly, indicating that they did not need to bow, and then said softly. Chapter 1881. Sect Master Yun Shi, please tell us. As long as we know, we will tell you. Wang Min nodded. Okay. Yun Shi said. Love Valley is a sect in the northern region, while Poison Sect is a sect in the western region. If there's no enmity between them, why would they attack you? Jiang Qun sat up straight. This was what he was most concerned about. When he saw Chia Yishuo in Love Valley, the latter was obviously searching for something. Unfortunately, this group of people kept their mouths shut and did not find out anything. Wang Min looked at Heartless Qingzi, then at everyone in the hall. Their target is the treasure of Love Valley, the Ice Soul Pearl. Ice Soul Pearl? Does such a thing really exist in the immortal world? Even the knowledgeable mountain lords of the Yunshi sect were astonished when they heard this. What is the Ice Soul Pearl? Long Dade tilted his head and asked. The Ice Soul Pearl is a treasure formed by condensing the ice spiritual chi between heaven and earth. It is said that whoever owns it will be able to comprehend the most powerful ice celestial art in the immortal world. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, this item was once owned by a celestial king called Han Bingwang. Since his death, it no longer exists. I didn't expect it to be in a small place like Love Valley. Bai Xiaoyun rubbed her chin and answered in a low voice. How do you know so much? Jiang Qun asked. These things are recorded in the pavilion. In the past, when I had nothing to do, I would look at it to relieve my boredom. Bai Xiaoyun opened her folding fan and waved it gently, pretending to be very knowledgeable. Did they succeed? Yun Shi did not hear what Jiang Qun and Bai Xiaoyun said. No, the icy soul pearl is still somewhere in the sacred mountain, Wang Min said and then closed her mouth. The icy spirit pearl was the most precious treasure of the Love Valley, and it was also the most precious treasure of the entire snowfield. She had only met Yun Shi once. Although Yun Shi had saved them, she still had her guard up. Otherwise, the ice soul-chilling pearl would have been stolen countless times during the existence of Love Despair Valley. That's good. Yun Shi didn't continue to ask, as long as she could figure out the purpose of the Black Poison Sect. Sect Master Yun Shi, thank you for your help this time. However, our Love Despair Valley has suffered such a calamity. There must be some injured disciples in the sect. We must hurry back as soon as possible. Wang Min glanced at Jiang Qun from the corner of her eyes. Go ahead. Yun Shi nodded. Nayland Mayor, are you going to stay here or go back with us? Wang Min turned around and asked her little apprentice who was standing at the door. I'll follow Master back to the sect. Nayland Mayor looked at Jiang Qun reluctantly. She wanted to stay by Jiang Qun's side, but she also knew that this was the time when the sect needed her the most. Let's go! Wang Min nodded in satisfaction and left the hall with all the elders and disciples. TSK, you wasted so much effort and almost got yourself into trouble. I didn't expect that she wouldn't even acknowledge you. Looking at the backs of the people from Love Despair Valley, Bai Xiaoyun sighed deeply and patted Jiang Qun's shoulder as she spoke. It's fine as long as they are safe, Jiang Chen said, smiling. What an affectionate man! Bai Xiaoyan sighed. After the people from Love Despair Valley left, Yunxi dismissed the other hill masters, leaving only Jiang Chen and the other two and Yun Wei. Sect Master Yun Wei, we also have to go back. Jiang Chen got up and cupped his hands at Yunxi. Well, don't forget our agreement. Yunxi put away her previous dignified appearance and revealed her true appearance of a little girl as she smiled at Jiang Chen. As long as Master comes back, I will definitely force him to see Sect Master Yunxi. Jiang Chen patted his chest and promised. Pfft. Yunxi was amused by Jiang Chen's words. After bidding farewell to Yunxi, Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun once again sat on long days back and returned. But this time, they were not in a hurry to return. They just followed behind the people from Love Despair Valley slowly. Now that Love Despair Valley had suffered such a calamity, and the treasures in the valley were targeted by the poison sect, Jiang Chen had to ensure that they could safely return to the northern region. As for the future, Jiang Chen wanted to bring all of them to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. If they insisted on not agreeing, he could only send some experts to protect them. The people from the Tianluo Palace were too weak and could not meet Jiang Chen's expectations. After about half a month, they finally returned to the northern region. After seeing the white snow in front of them, the female disciples of Love Despair Valley burst into tears. When they were taken away, they did not expect to have a chance to return. Why are you crying? Now the sect has only been destroyed, but all of us are still here. It is only a matter of time before the sect is rebuilt. And as long as the Ice Soul Pearl is here, our Love Despair Valley will still exist. Hearing the crying, heartless Qingzi flicked his horsetail whisk and said with some annoyance. What he despised the most was the crying disciples. It did not look like a sect at all. Yes, Great Elder. The female disciples immediately wiped away their tears. They arrived at the sacred mountain. When they saw the situation in the sect again, even heartless Qingzi's eyes turned red. The entire sect had been reduced to ruins, and there were even many disciples' corpses lying inside. After the establishment of Love Despair Valley, this was the most serious destruction it had ever suffered. If it were not for Jiang Chen, the entire sect would have been destroyed. Some of the disciples of Love Despair Valley have been placed in the town at the foot of the mountain, but they are all injured. Jiang Chen slowly walked up the mountain. When he saw all of them gathered at the mountain gate, he said in a low voice, "Thank you." Wang Min looked at Jiang Chen with a complicated expression. "It's just a small favor, and I am also here for mayor." Jiang Chen smiled and said with a shrug, "Great Elder, bring them to the town to rest first, and check on the other disciples." Wang Min said to Heartless Qingzi, who was beside her. "What about you, sect leader?" Heartless Qingzi asked. "I have something to say to him." Wang Min looked at Jiang Chen. Heartless Qingzi did not deny Jiang Chen. From the beginning of Tianluo Palace to the current poison sect, they had been in trouble one after another. If it were not for Jiang Chen's help, Love Despair Valley would have been destroyed long ago. However, she was a little worried that with the sect leader's cultivation method, if she really had a relationship with Jiang Chen, her cultivation level would remain at the current level forever, and might even regress. Heartless Qingzi brought the others down the mountain, and only Jiang Chen and Wang Min were left in the sect. "Where are your two friends?" Wang Min asked when she saw Jiang Chen standing there alone. Chapter 1882. I asked them to rest in the town. Jiang Chen pointed at the town below the mountain and said, "Okay." Wang Min walked into the sect and said as she walked, "I really didn't expect that our Love Valley would suffer such a calamity because of the Icy Soul Pearl. If it wasn't for you this time, I'm afraid the sect would have disappeared from the immortal world. What does the poison sect need the Icy Soul Pearl for?" Jiang Chen frowned and asked. "I don't know. After we were locked in, they kept interrogating us and seemed to have sent people to search the sect. But they didn't find it, otherwise they would have killed us." Wang Min shook her head. "How unlucky." Jiang Chen couldn't help but sigh. The saying that a man's wealth is his own ruin by arousing his own greed was the truth in every plane. If not for the icy soul pearl, the Love Despair Valley wouldn't have existed. Wang Min shook her head. She didn't blame the sect for being destroyed because of the treasure. She just blamed herself for being too weak to protect the treasure. Come with me, I want to show you something. Wang Min walked into the dilapidated sect. Jiang Chen followed behind her. After entering the main hall, Wang Min found a switch and pressed it forcefully. Crack! The ground they were standing on suddenly cracked. Seeing Wang Min falling straight down, Jiang Chen hurried to jump up and hold her waist. He extended his hand and the seven-colored sword appeared in his hand. Then he thrust it into the wall. Thanks to the cushioning effect, the two still staggered when they fell to the bottom. Cough, cough. Seeing Wang Min lying on his body and feeling the softness of her chest, Jiang Chen blushed even though he was thick-skinned. Wang Min blushed and hurriedly climbed down from Jiang Chen's body. Sorry, the sect was destroyed and there were some problems with the mechanism. I didn't expect to fall down suddenly, Wang Min said while patting the dust off her body. It's okay, it's nothing. Jiang Chen coughed twice. After calming down, Wang Min reached out and pressed on the stone wall in front of her. Following the rumbling sound, the stone wall suddenly split apart. A gust of cold air instantly swept out. So cold? Jiang Chen couldn't help but sneeze. With his full attribute immortal power, Jiang Chen should not have felt anything. However, this bone-piercing cold was somewhat unbearable for Jiang Chen. Even the blood in his body showed signs of freezing. This is where our sect stores the icy soul pearl. Wang Min walked in. Jiang Chen followed them in. What entered his eyes was a crystal-clear ice space. The ice essence was so pure that it could reflect Jiang Chen's and Wang Min's figures. It was like a huge mirror. In the middle, an irregular crystal was floating in the air. This is the icy soul pearl? Jiang Chen asked as he stepped forward and felt the bone-piercing coldness. Yes, I happened to meet the Ice King who was about to die and received his recognition. I inherited the icy soul pearl and built the Love Valley. Since then, the icy soul pearl has been stored here. I thought this matter was very secretive, but I didn't expect that someone would have their eyes on it. Jiang Chen, can you keep the icy soul pearl for me? Wang Min reached out and held the icy soul pearl in her hand. In an instant, Wang Min's entire body emitted a cold aura that made people involuntarily want to retreat. This is your Love Despair Valley's supreme treasure. Why didn't you leave it here? Why did you give it to me? Jiang Chen furrowed his brows slightly. He mobilized the fire element immortal power in his body to resist the chill. Our Love Valley doesn't have the strength to protect it, but you have countless immortal kings around you. Instead of leaving it here and being targeted by others, it's better to give it to you. I believe you have the strength to protect it, Wang Min said as she held the icy soul pearl in front of Jiang Chen. That may be so, but... Jiang Chen wanted to refuse, but after seeing Wang Min's serious expression, he could only agree. All right, then I'll keep it for you. If you need it in the future, feel free to contact me. Wang Min nodded. Jiang Chen reached out and took the icy soul pearl. Just as he was about to put it into his storage ring, his entire body was suddenly frozen. Jiang Chen? Wang Min was a little anxious when she saw this strange scene. Although Jiang Chen didn't cultivate their Love Valley's cultivation method, it shouldn't have been to this extent. Moreover, she could clearly sense that Jiang Chen had immortal power of the water attribute in his body, and the ice attribute was a variant of the water attribute. No matter how she looked at it, Jiang Chen shouldn't have been affected by the icy soul pearl's backlash. You're kidding me, right? The fugitive asked tentatively as he looked at Jiang Chen in the ice. However, what answered him was Jiang Chen's unmoving eyes and the icy aura emanating from his body from time to time. Seal of ice. Wang Min was a little anxious. She formed a seal with her hands and immortal power erupted from her body. She wrapped Jiang Chen tightly. She wanted to remove all the ice around Jiang Chen's body. However, when her immortal power was about to approach Jiang Chen, it was suddenly repelled. She could feel a repulsion from the icy soul pearl. Jiang Chen! Wang Min took a few steps back, her breathing a little chaotic. When she was at her wit's end and was about to turn to Bai Xiaoyan for help, the ice around Jiangchen started to fall off gradually. Jiangchen, who was in the ice, woke up. "You scared me to death!" Seeing that Jiangchen had recovered, Wang Min finally relaxed. "This icy soul pearl is quite interesting." Jiangchen played with the item in his hand. He could no longer feel the coldness from it. In the short period of time when he was frozen, he had already comprehended the immortal technique within it. 1,000 miles of ice. Wang Min scrutinized Jiangchen. Seeing that Jiangchen was fine, she continued. "That's strange. When my disciples touched it, they never reacted like you did. I thought you were going to be devoured by it. Maybe it's because I have immortal power of different attributes in my body," Jiangchen said casually as he put the icy soul pearl into his storage ring. I'll leave the icy soul pearl to you. This way, even if a sect like the Poison Palm sect comes, even if our Love Despair Valley is destroyed, the icy soul pearl will not be affected." Wang Min nodded. "Your Love Despair Valley should be merged with the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. This way, I can do my best to protect you. You are in the northern region snowfield and are too far away. I'm afraid I won't make it in time if I rush over after receiving the news." Jiangchen took a deep breath, looked at her, and spoke in a deep voice. "No, I will never leave here." Wang Min shook her head resolutely. Chapter 1883. Why? Jiangchen asked with a frown. "Maybe you've been away from the immortal world for too long, so you don't know much about the northern region." Wang Min sighed and sat on the ice. "Before the Frost Immortal King died, this place used to be called the Snow Region, which existed side by side with the northern region. But after his death, this place fell and was eventually swallowed by the northern region, becoming the northern region snowfield. Since I've received the inheritance of the Frost Immortal King, I naturally have to take on the responsibility of revitalizing the Snow Region." Snow Region. Jiangchen savored the name, and vaguely felt a sense of familiarity. "That's right, the sects that used to belong to Shuiyu have all declined and disappeared. The few remaining sects have all accepted their current situation. It can be said that apart from me, there is no other sect that can take on the task of reviving Shuiyu," Wang Min said helplessly. "I'll revitalize it with you." Jiangchen pondered for a while and said, "Why?" Wang Min looked up at Jiangchen. "Maybe it's because Naylan Mayer is in your sect, and you see her as your successor. She was once my disciple, and even though she has ascended to the immortal world, I still have to take care of her. Your Love Despair Valley should join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect." Jiangchen took a deep breath and said, gazing at Wang Min, "I don't want to leave the Snow Region." Wang Min shook her head again. "You can still stay in the Snow Region. As long as you join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, I have a reason to send some experts to protect you. Otherwise, I have no reason to send people," Jiangchen said quickly. Wang Min fell silent. She didn't want to have anything to do with Jiangchen. But the things that happened recently made her realize that it was impossible for her to draw a clear line with Jiangchen. She and her sect also needed his protection. Moreover, the Ice Soul Pearl had been given to Jiangchen for safekeeping. It was unrealistic to draw a clear line. "Okay, I agree." After hesitating for a while, Wang Min agreed. "Ha ha!" Jiangchen laughed and said, "When I return to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, I will immediately send a few Immortal King experts here to protect your Love Valley. Even if 2 more Poison Palm sects come looking for trouble, they will be able to hold on until I arrive." "Thank you." Wang Min lowered her head. Jiangchen's meticulous care for her made her feel as if she had returned to the past. She was also very clear that the Jiangchen who had experienced 10 reincarnations was no longer the myriad transformation that she was familiar with. "Let's go take a look at the disciples of the sect." Jiangchen reached out to pull her arm. "I can walk by myself." Wang Min shook off Jiangchen's hand. Jiangchen smiled bitterly, and could only follow behind her with his hands behind his back. However, As soon as they came out of the secret chamber, and before they could leave the sect, the fluctuations in the air caused their expressions to stiffen. Something happened in the town! Feeling the fluctuations in the aura of the elders and disciples of the sect, Wang Min left these words and quickly rushed down the sacred mountain. Standing at the top of the mountain, Jiang Qun could vaguely see the situation in the town. But presumably, the Poison Palm sect that had just been warned shouldn't be a clan in the western region. And if it was someone else who came looking for trouble, Bai Xiaoyun should be able to easily deal with them. Thinking about it, Jiang Qun still quickly followed. Jiang Chen's speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he was close to Wang Min and stopped her outside the town. "Why are you stopping me?" Wang Min looked at Jiang Qun in confusion. "I'm afraid that you will be too anxious and encounter danger," Jiang Qun said in a deep voice. "Just based on the injured elders and disciples of our sect, if we don't hurry, I'm afraid that they will all be in trouble." Wang Min got rid of Jiang Qun and flew toward the town at high speed. Seeing that he couldn't persuade her, Jiang Qun could only follow behind her. Near the town, there was already a snowstorm. This was not ordinary snow, but completely condensed from immortal power. In addition to the disciples of the Love Valley, some ordinary people living here and the people of the Tian Luo Palace were accidentally injured. "Humble class!" Seeing this formation, Wang Min shouted out. "Is this also your snow fields?" Jiang Qun stopped. Seeing such a shocking tactical formation, he asked, "Is this also a sect in your snow field?" "Yes, it is less than 10,000 miles away from our Love Valley and has existed for a long time. It is even possible that this sect had already appeared before the fall of the Ice King." Wang Min clenched her fists. When it rains, it pours. This kind of situation made her feel powerless from the bottom of her heart. One must know that with the strength of their Love Valley, they were not a match for the humble class. Not to mention that the sect had just suffered a disaster. Facing the humble class, there was no chance of winning. "It seems that this sect has some ability. I just don't know how it compares to the poison sect." Seeing Wang Min's expression, Jiang Qun roughly understood the situation and asked, "It is weaker than the poison sect, but the sect master of the humble class is also an immortal king. The protectors under him are around the half-step immortal monarch realm. Their strength is higher than our Love Valley." Wang Min nodded and told Jiang Qun the actual situation. "On the surface, their cultivation is not bad, but I don't know how much strength they can exert." Jiang Qun smiled and rushed into the town. "Immortal technique, beginning of all beginnings." Standing beside Bai Xiaoyun, Jiang Qun suddenly pressed his hands on the ground. Immediately, dense trees that covered the sky and the sun grew wildly, enveloping the entire town. The snowstorm could no longer corrode the town. "It's so lively. I didn't expect to have a good fight after returning from the western region." Seeing Jiang Qun arrive, Bai Xiaoyun rolled up her sleeves and said with a smile, "Senior brother, don't underestimate the enemy. The sect master of the humble class is above the immortal king realm." Jiang Qun reminded in a low voice. "Immortal king it is. It's nothing." Bai Xiaoyun chuckled. Han Yen, who was in the air, was furious when the beginning of all beginnings blocked the formation. He knew that there must be experts in Love Despair Valley. Otherwise, how could those ice elemental elders display such a powerful wood elemental immortal technique? "Who are you?" He withdrew the formation and landed in front of the town. Looking at the dense forest in front of him, he asked, "Young sect master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, Jiang Qun." Jiang Qun walked out from between two tree trunks, looked at him, and said lightly. After Jiang Qun came out, Wang Min also arrived. "Is it the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect that caused an uproar in the northern region some time ago?" He was a little surprised, but he still didn't lose his composure. "Jiang Qun, this is our snow region's matter. It has nothing to do with you. Leave quickly. Now that the Love Valley has joined the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, how can it have nothing to do with me?" Jiang Qun smiled. Chapter 1884. What? The expression on Han Yan's face changed. Although he did not go to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect that day, he had heard about how strong this new sect was. Young Master Jiangchen had many experts behind him. Sect leader? Heartless Qingzi also looked at Wang Min. Wang Min nodded slightly. Heartless Qingzi understood, but his expression did not change. She also knew that joining the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was the best decision for them. Only under the protection of Jiangchen, their love valley could survive in the immortal realm safely. Without Jiangchen, those sects in the western region would come back again. With their strength, they could not stop them. So what if Love Valley joins the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect? I am not here to cause trouble, but to take something back from sect leader Wang Min. After a moment of surprise, Han Yan gradually returned to normal. What is it? Our Love Valley has been established for thousands of years, and we have never had anything to do with your humble class, let alone take something from you, Wang Min said with a cold smile. The Ice Soul Pearl. This is the treasure of the Ice King. Your Love Valley has suffered such a disaster, and no longer has the strength to protect this treasure. As one of the sects in the snow region, I have the right to ask you to prevent the Ice Soul Pearl from falling into the hands of others. Is there a problem? Han Yan put his hands behind his back, looked at Jiangchen and asked. I am the successor of the Ice King. Naturally, I have the right to possess the Ice Soul Pearl. Even if the sect is in trouble, it will not fall into your hands. If you want it, you will only have the chance to obtain it after our Love Despair Valley falls. Wang Min knew that Han Yan was up to no good. You are right, sect leader Han Yan, go back to where you came from. Jiangchen waved his hand at him. Jiangchen, I don't want to attack you for the sake of your father, Wan Qing. You are the young lord of the 10,000 Creations Immortal School, and you have many experts supporting you. However, this is the snow field, and we aren't at the gate of your school. Hearing Jiangchen's interruption, Han Yan was enraged. Dog, I advise you to weigh your own strength before you speak. As long as our 10,000 Creations Immortal sect sends out a few experts, we can make your humble class completely disappear from the immortal world. Long Dade stood out and pointed at his nose as he shouted. He vented all the grievances he had suffered in the western regions in one go. Looks like you guys really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Long Dade's words completely enraged Han Yan. He was indeed a little wary of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. However, if he could obtain the Icy Soul Pearl and comprehend the Supreme Ice Attribute Celestial skill in it, his strength would have a chance to jump from the 3rd stage Immortal King Realm to the 5th stage Immortal King Realm. At that time, even the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect would not be able to do anything to him. Did I say something wrong? Long Dade shrunk back. You're right. You should be the one to deal with this kind of high-sounding villain who takes advantage of others' difficulties, Jiangchen said with a smile. Humble class guardians, listen up. Kill everyone in the town. If anyone can obtain the Icy Soul Pearl, I will promote him to be the new elder of the humble class. I will also let him study the eternal Sin Ice prison of our clan. Seeing that Jiangchen had no intention of backing down, Han Yan shouted in a low voice. Instantly, several guardians and hundreds of disciples gathered behind him from around the town. Jiangchen, the elders and disciples of our Love Despair Valley have almost no combat power left. Seeing that Han Yan was not holding back, Heartless Qingzi held the horsetail whisk in his hand tightly and said in a low voice. Don't worry, I'm here to protect you. Jiangchen looked relaxed. Now that he had comprehended the mystery of the Icy Soul Pearl, he did not take Han Yan seriously at all. It was just like when he obtained the power of the Golden Dragon and went to the ancient Dharma Void Dragon clan. Although his cultivation was weaker, the suppression of the celestial skill was very real. Moreover, Bai Shaoyun was here. Realm of Ice! Han Yan roared. With him as the center, the cold air quickly spread out. Although the disciples of Love Despair Valley also cultivated ice attribute celestial skills, they could clearly feel that the immortal chi in their bodies was blocked to a certain extent. Even their breathing was not very smooth. The ordinary people living in the town also felt the bone-piercing cold. If it were not for the protection of Jiangchen's wood attribute celestial skill, they would have been turned into ice sculptures in an instant. You really are something. Bai Xiaoyun pressed her palm on her chest and used her immortal qi to forcibly break through the cold air. Kill! Seeing that the people of Love Despair Valley were affected, Han Yan could not help but laugh loudly. Even my realm of ice can't block it. What right do you have to have the icy soul pearl? Hurry up and hand it over. Seeing that we are all sects of the snow region, I can let Love Despair Valley submit and let you live. How about it? Oh? Is that so? Jiangchen suddenly laughed out loud. Seal of ice. After the laughter, Jiangchen clapped his hands together and shouted in a low voice. Wang Min, Heartless Qingzi, and the other elders all turned to look at him. Seal of ice. This was the celestial skill of the icy soul pearl. The celestial skill was divided into 9 levels and each level had an celestial skill. Realm of ice. Jiangchen spoke again in a low voice. A wave of cold air that was even colder than the one released by Han Yan spread rapidly. Looking at the ice cones that formed on the ground, even the moisture was gradually freezing and falling to the ground. Han Yan's eyes widened. He had secretly learned the realm of ice before Han Bingwang had died. The name of the celestial skill was the realm of ice. Back then, he had only learned half of it when he was discovered, so he did not get the essence of the second half of the scroll. After tens of thousands of years, through his own exploration and improvement, he was finally able to use it. But compared to the real realm of ice, there was still a big gap. Moreover, every time he used it, it would consume a large portion of his immortal qi and it would take at least a few years to fully recover. However, seeing Jiangchen able to exert it so easily, it was certainly hard for him to accept it. How did you? Wang Min's shock was not much less than Han Yan's. When you gave me the icy soul pearl, I happened to comprehend it. Jiangchen chuckled. He turned his palm over, and the icicles that had been condensed in the air flew towards him. In the end, an ice bow made entirely of ice appeared in Jiangchen's hand. What is the name of this celestial skill? Holding the ice bow, Jiangchen scratched his head and asked. Icy soul bow. Wang Min was going crazy. The realm of ice was an celestial skill. After she had obtained the icy soul pearl from Han Bingwang, she had been practicing it. Now, she had only comprehended the 5th level and had no clue about the remaining 4. Chapter 1885. In the sect, the one who had the highest comprehension was only Heartless Qingzi's 4th level. But now seeing that Jiangchen could easily display the 6th level of the Ice Soul Bao, he was naturally shocked to the extreme. Jiangchen, I didn't expect you to have the talent to cultivate ice attribute cultivation methods. If you give me the Ice Soul Pearl and help me comprehend the Ice Seal Immortal technique, then I will definitely respect your 10,000 mounts immortal sect in the future, and even let me join your sect. In addition to being surprised, Han Yan's eyes became fiery. Is that so? Jiangchen held the Ice Soul Bao in his hand. Of course it's true, Han Yan said in a deep voice. If what you just said is true, then I can consider it. Jiangchen laughed and said, You have already said that you want to kill us. If I agree, wouldn't I be raising a tiger and inviting calamity? Jiangchen pulled the bowstring, tightened it, and released it. It seemed to be an empty shot, but in fact, dozens of ice forces were shot out at the same time. These ice forces shuttled in the air, absorbing all the water vapor around them. The appearance of the ice arrows gradually revealed, and when they reached the disciples of the humble sect, they had completely revealed their true form. Under the control of the extreme ice domain, these disciples of the humble sect became extremely slow. They watched the ice arrows gradually magnify in their eyes. With their strength, they could easily dodge them, but, after being restricted, their whole body became sluggish. Not to mention dodging, even moving their hands and feet was very difficult. Ice Mausoleum! Seeing that the disciples were about to be hit, Han Yan shouted in a low voice. A shadow appeared. A huge tombstone fell from the sky and landed in front of them, blocking their path. Pa! Pa! The ice arrows shot on the tombstone, and under the continuous attack, the tombstone soon could not withstand and cracked. And Jiang Chen's attack also stopped. Han Yen understood. Today, either go back or kill everyone here and take the Ice Soul Pearl. Be careful, that guy is going to be serious. Bai Xiaoyun stepped forward, blocking Jiang Chen behind her. He was not at all surprised by Jiang Chen's ice attribute celestial art. During the time he had known Jiang Chen, he had already gotten used to his junior brother mastering new celestial arts every once in a while. He would be surprised if he couldn't see it. Yes, Jiang Chen replied. The tombstone disappeared, revealing Han Yen who was standing behind it. He stretched out his hand, and the disciples beside him all rushed out. Jiang Chen, you and the White Immortal King deal with Han Yen. Leave these disciples to us. Even though their bodies were still affected by the realm of ice, the commoner disciples were also affected by Jiang Chen's domain of ice. Even though the speed of both sides was slower, it was still relatively normal. Jiang Chen's extreme ice domain could restrict ordinary disciples, but it couldn't restrict Han Yen. Han Yen held the ice spear in his hand. When he stepped in the air, he stepped on the condensed ice. He strode forward. The spear in his hand was emitting a cold air. He swept it over Jiang Chen. Han Yen understood. Even though Jiang Chen's cultivation was at the 3rd level of the immortal realm, he was indeed the most difficult one to deal with. The one in white beside him was a celestial king, but under the unique conditions of the snow domain, he was no match for him. Junior brother, be careful! Bai Xiaoyun flew up on her sword and fiercely clashed with Han Yen. Jiang Chen didn't hesitate. The ice bout transformed into a long sword, and he joined forces with Bai Xiaoyun to fight Han Yen from another direction. In the small town, many people looked outside through the cracks. When they saw that Jiang Chen had comprehended a celestial skill that even their sect leader couldn't comprehend, and even blocked hundreds of disciples from the humble school by himself, they couldn't help but scream. Junior Sister Mayor, who is Brother Jiang Chen? He can fight with a celestial king at the 3rd level of the immortal realm. If he becomes a celestial king, won't he be on an equal footing with an immortal emperor? Stop dreaming. There are no immortal emperors in the immortal realm now. Even if he is a celestial king, how can he be a match for an immortal emperor? Humph, how do you know there are no immortal emperors in the immortal realm? For a moment, the disciples of Love Despair Valley were in a mess. However, almost all of their eyes were focused on Jiang Chen. Only a few of them stared blankly at Bai Xiaoyun, whose white robe fluttered in the wind. Hundreds of rounds. Under the joint attack of Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun, Han Yen was showing signs of defeat. He was not convinced. With his cultivation at the 3rd level of the Immortal King realm, he was forced into such a state by a 2nd-level Immortal King realm cultivator. This was the biggest humiliation in history. Frozen ice palm! Han Yen shouted angrily. A giant ice palm appeared. He threw it toward Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun hurriedly activated the immortal qi in their bodies to dodge. They distanced themselves from each other. Han Yen sucked in a deep breath of cold air as a formation descended from the sky. The formation was so big that even the small town was enveloped in it. After being cut off, Jiang Chen's beginning of all beginnings was cut off from the outside world and quickly faded away. You have succeeded in forcing me to use the eternal Sin Ice prison! Han Yen's entire being became deranged. The eternal Sin Ice prison. It was his most powerful formation. As long as the person was enveloped in it, as long as their cultivation was lower than his, they would be frozen by the raging cold air. Even his sect's protectors and disciples could not escape. Han Yen did not want to go to the extreme. However, if he did not make up his mind now, he would not be able to kill the 2 people in front of him. He might even be killed by them. Oh no! Looking at the formation that covered the sky, Bai Xiaoyun felt a little helpless. You even want to kill your own people? Jiang Chen frowned and looked at Han Yen. If I kill you, I will naturally be able to obtain the Icy Soul Pearl. By then, the sect's strength will increase and become the strongest force in the entire snow region. Then, I will be able to recruit new disciples. Han Yan laughed. Soon the cold air came. Even though many people were hiding in the town, they could feel the bone-piercing cold. The cold air made their bodies stiffen, and they could not even move. Jiang Chun looked up and saw that Wang Min, heartless Qingzi, and the others were also restrained. I will find the right opportunity to kill him later. However, I am afraid that there will be some casualties in the Passionless Valley and the town. Bai Xiaoyun resisted the formation and whispered to Jiang Chun. No need. Jiang Chun shook his head. Now is not the time to show off. Even I can't break this formation. The only chance is to kill Han Yan. Bai Xiaoyun held her long sword tightly and was ready to attack when the opportunity came. However, just as he was about to leap up, the formation loosened. Jiang Chun formed a seal with both hands and an invisible wave spread out. Chapter 1886. Suddenly, the formation that Han Yan set up shook violently, as if it was going to collapse at any time. What's going on? As the owner of the formation, Han Yan naturally sensed that something was wrong and quickly looked up. In an instant, the formation collapsed. Han Yan fell to the ground due to the backlash, his face pale. Impossible! The Eternal Sin Ice Prism was guided by an ancient immortal king. How could it collapse? Han Yan's eyes widened and trembled. He could not accept this situation. After being guided and strengthened by an ancient immortal king, even a fourth-tier immortal king or immortal king Wu Chong would not be able to escape, let alone someone with a lower cultivation. However, at that moment, he didn't feel any attack from Jiang Chun or Bai Xiaoyun. The whole formation seemed to have collapsed by itself. This was the most ridiculous thing he had ever seen in the thousands of times he had exerted this formation. An ancient immortal king? Hearing this, Jiang Chun was immediately amused. He had only used the method that Gu Hua taught him to break the formation. He was trying to break Han Yan's formation. He did not expect that the opponent's formation had been strengthened by Gu Hua. Then in front of Gu Hua's dispelling formation, it really wasn't even worth a fart. While Han Yan was suffering from the backlash and was in a daze, Bai Xiaoyun had already rushed in front of him and placed her white sword on his neck. She could take his life with just a little bit of force. You're not a second-tier immortal king. Han Yan looked at Bai Xiaoyun. He did not believe that Jiang Chun could do this with his strength, so he naturally suspected Bai Xiaoyun. What nonsense are you talking about? Bai Xiaoyun was confused. After breaking his formation, Jiang Chun immediately went to help Wang Min and the others. With Jiang Chun's help, the hundreds of people from the humble school were quickly taken care of. Seeing that their sect master had been subdued, they no longer had any thoughts of resisting. Han Yan, there was no grudge between our sects, but you wanted to take advantage of the situation. If Jiang Chun was not here today, do you want to destroy our loved Despair Valley? Wang Min walked up to Han Yan angrily and questioned him loudly. Sect Master Wang Min, now that things have come to this, there's no need to say anything else. I only have one life. If you want to kill me, then kill me. But please let go of the protectors and disciples of my humble school. This is my own idea, it has nothing to do with them. Han Yan gritted his teeth. He still couldn't figure it out. With Jiang Chen's cultivation level, why was he able to perform the immortal arts in the icy soul pearl? Why did his ice prison of eternal sin collapse? Did you kill him? Bai Xiaoyun looked up at Jiang Chen. You guys go back first, I'll deal with him alone. Thinking that Han Yan had been taught by Gu Hua, Jiang Chen had some concerns. If the person before him was related to Gu Hua, he might offend Gu Hua if he killed him just like that. Jiang Chen was still prepared to obtain the formation from him. Moreover, offending one of the three great celestial kings because of Han Yan was indeed not a wise move. Yes. Wang Min didn't hesitate and immediately led the elders back to the town. After they left, Jiang Chun looked at Han Yan and asked calmly, Tell me, what's your relationship with one ancient celestial king? You're afraid of one ancient celestial king, so you don't dare to kill me, right? Han Yan suddenly felt hopeful when he heard Jiang Chen's words. He suddenly looked up at Jiang Chen and asked coldly, Oh? Jiang Chen suddenly smiled. Kid, I'm warning you, I'm on good terms with one ancient celestial king. He's one of the 3 great celestial kings. If you dare to hurt me, he'll hunt you down no matter where you run to. Hand over the icy soul pearl if you know what's good for you. Don't force me to summon one ancient celestial king, Han Yen said with a cold smile. The 3 great celestial kings were enough to intimidate anyone in the immortal world. Is that so? Then tell him to come out and I'll meet him. Jiang Chen's interest was piqued. Jiang Chen didn't think that Gu Hu would fall out with him for the sake of this person when he begged him to be his disciple. And by then, Jiang Chen was determined to kill him, too. There's a crystal in my sect that's specially used to contact one ancient celestial king. If you have the guts, let me go back and see if I can summon one ancient celestial king here. Han Yen struggled for a moment. After showing his biggest trump card, he was sure that Bai Xiaoyun wouldn't dare to kill him. Eldest senior brother, are you going? Jiang Chen looked up at Bai Xiaoyun. Of course, why wouldn't I? Bai Xiaoyun instantly understood Jiang Chen's meaning and the smile on her face grew wider. The strongest sect in the snow region must have a lot of good stuff. Han Yen snorted coldly. Let me tell you, once one ancient celestial king appears, even if you hand over the icy soul pearl, you'll have to kneel on the ground and apologize to me. Only then will I let you go. Looking at the guardians and disciples who had suffered heavy casualties, Han Yen swung his sleeves and rushed towards the sect. Behind him, Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun were following him closely. At the border of the northern region, Jiang Chen saw the humble class. The temperature here was even lower than Love Despair Valley. Within 100 miles, there was almost no activity. The snowstorm didn't stop at all. Not only did the snow not bury the humble class, but it was also converted into natural energy for the sect through a special formation. Do you see that formation? This formation was also taught by one ancient celestial king. Stepping on the snow and looking at the sect in the distance, Han Yen pointed at the huge formation above the sect and said proudly. Impressive. Jiang Chen said casually. Do I need you to say that? Han Yen sneered. Boy, hurry up and hand over the icy soul pearl. You'll have to see one ancient celestial king first. Jiang Chen didn't want to talk to him at all. The only thing in his mind was to go to the humble class and see if there was anything worth taking away. Seeing that Jiang Chen wouldn't give up until he saw the coffin, Han Yen directly rushed into the sect. The ice gate opened. Sect Master! After Han Yen came in, dozens of disciples bowed together. Let the 2 people behind him come in as well. They are the honored guests of our humble class. Han Yen rushed into the main hall. Under his signal, Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun easily came in. Looking around at the situation of the humble class, Bai Xiaoyun could not help but click her tongue when she saw the hundreds of disciples. This humble class is indeed much stronger than the Love Valley. It also looks more like the orthodox inheritance of the Ice King. Senior brother, whose side are you on? Jiang Chen looked sideways at her. Ahem, I'm just telling the truth. Bai Xiaoyun touched her nose. Chapter 1887. In the main hall. When Jiang Chen and Bai Hua entered, Han Yen was standing inside with one hand behind his back. In his right hand, there was a dark-colored crystal. This item can bring an ancient celestial king here. If you insist on not handing over the icy soul pearl, I can only crush it. When the ancient celestial king is here, I won't be able to decide whether he lives or dies. Han Yen was no longer as timid as before. Now that he had an ancient celestial king to back him up, he naturally didn't take Jiang Chen and Bai Hua seriously. Moreover, in his own sect, he had many ways to deal with them. However, dealing with them didn't mean that he could get the icy soul pearl. Using an ancient celestial king was the best choice. Hurry up, don't dawdle. Jiang Chen sat on the chair with his legs crossed. Wait for your death. Seeing that Jiang Chen was being stubborn, Han Yen took a deep breath and crushed the crystal. An invisible wave spread out instantly. Then, the space at the entrance of the main hall was distorted. A middle-aged man in gray walked in. Seeing this person, Han Yan immediately knelt on one knee. Bai Xiaoyun wasn't afraid. After all, with Bai Xuanling's support, even an ancient celestial king would have to think twice if he wanted to touch her and Jiang Chen. Why did you call me? Gu Hua's eyes were hazy. It was obvious that he had been woken up from a beautiful dream. Ancient celestial king, these two broke my eternal sin ice prison and didn't take you seriously at all. I have no choice but to crush the crystal and ask the ancient celestial king to teach them a lesson. Han Yan knelt on one knee and cupped his hands at Gu Hua. However, he couldn't control the smile on his face. It was as if he could see Jiang Chen was about to be scared to the point of wetting his pants. Oh? Gu Hua opened his eyes and glanced around. After seeing Bai Xiaoyun, he didn't show any emotion. A mere ancient celestial king was not worth mentioning in front of him. However, when he saw Jiang Chen sitting beside Bai Xiaoyun, his eyes suddenly lit up. My good disciple, why are you here? Gu Hua forced a smile and walked to Jiang Chen's side to sit down. She said with a smile. I was about to go find you, but I sensed that you were in the western region, so I decided to wait a little longer. Humph, I almost lost my life in the western regions. Why didn't you do anything? Jiang Chen sneered. This? Gu Hua explained awkwardly. I know that with your strength, you should be able to resolve it easily. Moreover, isn't Bai Xianling your master? He didn't help you either. If you're too lazy to go, then you're too lazy to go. There's no need to explain. Looking at Gu Hua, who was filled with laziness, Jiang Chen really didn't have much of a temper. The conversation between Gu Hua and Jiang Chen. Han Yan felt as if he had fallen into a bottomless ice cellar. In the 2 times he came into contact with Gu Hua, he could clearly sense that the latter was one of the 3 great immortal kings that stood high above. She was extremely proud and disdainful of everything. But now, why did he seem so familiar with Jiang Chen? That one ancient immortal king? Han Yan couldn't help but say with a pale face. Oh, right. Little Yan, let me introduce you. Gu Hua slapped her head and patted Jiang Chen's arm. This is Jiang Chen, my direct disciple. He's also the current young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. From now on, his words are my words. Do you understand? Han Yan's legs were trembling uncontrollably. Of course, compared to him, Bai Xiaoyun was also very shocked. But after thinking about it, she understood. Little junior brother was such a demon-like person. He even snatched his master back and made him his direct disciple. Even the sect was handed over to him. So, it wasn't strange for him to know another one ancient immortal king. Jiang Chen. He's the sect master of the humble sect. This sect's cultivation in the snow region is very strong. They'll definitely be of help to you in the future. Gu Hua pointed at Han Yan and said to Jiang Chen. I'm afraid not. Jiang Chen smiled and said. You're underestimating this sect too much. Gu Hua misunderstood Jiang Chen's meaning and said. Don't think that he's the only immortal king. Some of the sect's formations have been taught by me. Even facing 2 or 3 immortal kings won't be a problem. Sect Master Han Yan, repeat what you just said to me to one ancient immortal king. Jiang Chen looked at Han Yan. Han Yan was so scared that he trembled. He didn't expect Jiang Chen to be the disciple of an ancient immortal king. But Jiang Chen had already said it. The only thing he could do now was to beg for Jiang Chen's forgiveness. Only then could he save his life and the humble sect. What do you mean? Gu Hua sensed that something was wrong. Han Yan crawled to Jiang Chen on all 4s and begged. Brother Jiang Chen, I was blind. I didn't expect you to be the disciple of an ancient immortal king. If I knew, I definitely wouldn't have offended you. Little Chen, what happened between you two? Gu Hua asked. Sect Master Han Yan brought the protectors and disciples of the sect to the Love Despair Valley. After I showed up to stop him, he tried to kill me and take away the Eye-Soul Pearl of the Love Despair Valley. I'm only able to see you here because Sect Master Han Yan thinks I won't give up until I see the coffin. He's trying to use you to threaten me. Jiang Chen looked at Han Yan, who was kneeling in front of him, and asked, Sect Master Han Yan, do you think I'm right? Han Yan, are you serious? Gu Hua took a deep breath. The aura of one of the three immortal kings spread from his body once again. Even his voice deepened. An ancient immortal king, Brother Jiangchen, I know I was wrong. Han Yan was trembling. He remained kneeling on the ground without daring to move. How are you going to deal with him? Guhua took a deep breath and asked Jiangchen. I'll listen to you, Jiangchen said casually. He still had to give Han Yan some face. It'll be a pity if I kill him. I've seen someone who's quite skilled in formations, but he has offended you. Let me think about it. Guhua placed his hands behind him. A moment later, a talisman floated out of his palm. Sect Master Jiangchen, if you're willing to let me go, I'll be loyal to you in the future. Han Yan quickly crawled up to Jiangchen and said when he sensed the murderous intent behind him. Get up. Jiangchen had no choice but to raise his hand. It was indeed inappropriate to kill someone in front of Guhua. Han Yan, Jiangchen is letting you go this time. If I know you dare to harm him again, I won't let you go even if the other two immortal emperors plead for you. Guhua reminded Han Yan after putting the talisman away. Never again! Han Yan shook his head desperately. He did not dare to offend Jiangchen anymore under the circumstances. The man was the disciple of an ancient immortal king. He even had someone called by Xianling behind him. Chapter 1888. Although he did not know who Bai Xianling was, he must be a powerful immortal king since he was called out by an ancient immortal king. If he still had the nerve to attack Jiangchen in such a high status, he would be an idiot. Get up. Jiangchen raised his head and said, Little Chen, I still have something to deal with. If you need my help, just let me know at any time. Guhua said to Jiangchen tentatively after seeing Han Yan submit to her. Jiangchen nodded. After getting Jiangchen's permission, Guhua tore open the space again and entered it. When the space crack closed, his aura completely disappeared from the main hall. Han Yan heaved a sigh of relief and sat on the ground. Sect Master Han Yan, do you still want the icy soul pearl? Jiangchen got up and walked around the main hall. Leader Jiangchen, oh no, young Lord Jiangchen, I don't dare ask for the icy soul pearl anymore. I only want to stay by your side in the future and be at your beck and call. I don't have any other thoughts. Han Yan stood up straight and said respectfully, I'll trust you this time because you're an ancient immortal king. If there's a next time. Jiangchen narrowed his eyes. If I dare to betray you again, the ancient immortal king will not let me go. Han Yan rushed to say. He was eager to show his loyalty to Jiangchen. In the future, take care of Love Valley in the snow region. You should have a lot of spies who know about what happened in Love Valley recently. If there's a danger like this again, you have to use the power of the whole clan to help and report to me immediately. Jiangchen put his hands behind his back. Although Han Yan was not happy to accept it, there were still many benefits. This person was the sect master of the snow region. It was more reliable than the experts from the immortal mountains overseas. Moreover, with Han Yan's strength, even if he encountered opponents like the poison sect, he could definitely hold on until Jiangchen arrived. Understood, young master. Han Yan nodded heavily and agreed. As for the immortal spells in the icy soul pearl, if you perform well in the future, I will naturally teach you. Jiangchen knew how to show mercy and mercy. Plop. Thank you, young lord. I definitely won't betray you again. Han Yan's eyes lit up as he knelt on the ground and kowtowed heavily to Jiangchen. Get up. Jiangchen raised his hand. Young master, why don't you stay in our sect for a while? I saw that the Love Valley sect was destroyed, and it will take some time to rebuild. If young master goes to their place, I'm afraid they won't even have a place to stay. I'll go and prepare 2 guest rooms immediately. Han Yan stood up joyfully. If you want to stay, that's fine. Jiangchen and Bai Xiaoyun looked at each other. However, there are conditions for joining our 10,000 mounts immortal sect. What conditions? Han Yan asked. Let me see the strength of your humble class. Now that the 10,000 mounts immortal sect has been re-established in the immortal world, all the families and sects that join must have a certain level of strength in the immortal world. Jiang Qin made his expression look more serious. But young master, the most elite experts in the sect have all suffered heavy casualties in the town. I'd better go and bring them back to recuperate. Speaking of this, Han Yan's expression was obviously a little depressed. After losing those people, the strength of the sect could be said to be greatly reduced. You two go. Jiang Qin looked at the two disciples standing at the door and said casually, Sect Master. The disciples turned their heads. Although they all heard the words in the main hall, they still didn't know who to listen to for a while. What are you waiting for? Young master told you to go. Go quickly. If you delay, be careful that I will take your life. Seeing that the disciples of the sect didn't listen to Jiang Qin, Han Yan suddenly became angry. He pointed at the two disciples and reprimanded them loudly. The disciples didn't dare to hesitate and immediately jumped and disappeared in the blizzard. As soon as they left, Han Yan immediately said, Young master, take a look at the strength of the sect now. He was ready to gather all the disciples in the sect and let Jiang Qin see their humble sect. Although the sect couldn't be compared to the big sects in the immortal world, it still had a certain amount of weight. No, you misunderstood. I'm not talking about this strength. Jiang Qin shook his head repeatedly. He wasn't interested in the strength of the humble sect. As long as they could protect Love Despair Valley, it was enough. Ah? What kind of strength is that? Han Yan didn't understand. Of course it is. Jiang Qin sighed. He didn't expect this person to be so stupid. Of course it is immortal arts, heaven and earth treasures, heaven and earth elixirs. Understood. Hearing Jiang Qin's words, Han Yan understood. Young master, please come with me. There are still many treasures in our sect, but I don't know if young master will like them. Han Yan took the lead and walked outside. At the side of the main hall, Jiang Qin saw a two-story wooden building. The huge array that protected the entire sect floated out from this place. Young master, please come with me. Standing at the door, Han Yan reached out and pressed on the door. After the fluctuations dispersed and the seal was lifted, he pushed the door open and turned to Jiang Qin. He walked in. What entered his eyes was a huge array. The array whistled. He could feel the powerful fluctuations that were emitted from time to time, but these fluctuations were all blocked by the barrier outside. In the middle of the array, there was a yellow talisman that was slowly circulating. Seeing Jiang Qin staring at it, Han Yan hurriedly explained. 5,000 years ago, I met an ancient immortal king by chance. He saw that I had some talent in array formations, so he helped me and built this array with me. It can convert the continuous snowstorm into heaven and earth's spiritual energy for our sect's disciples to cultivate. It is also because of this that I can rise from the half-step immortal king to the true immortal king in such a short time. That's right. Jiang Qin looked at it and nodded. The formation was similar to the wood elemental immortal technique he obtained from the Emperor Qianji. Young master, please come up. All of our humble school's things are up there. Han Yan pointed at the stairs next to him. Jiang Qin followed him to the second floor. What entered his eyes was a forest of wooden shelves. Each wooden shelf was densely packed with items. As expected of the number 1 sect in the snow domain. Bai Xiaoyun almost drooled when she saw this. White Immortal King, you're too kind. We're just an ordinary sect. I think these treasures are nothing compared to your sect. Han Yan smiled awkwardly. Bai Xiaoyun was even more embarrassed than him. The Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. It was a long story. If Junior Brother had not become the sect master, the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion would probably be no more than an ordinary small family. Chapter 1889. These things have to be brought back to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. If you need them in the future, you can apply to the sect and I will return them to you. Jiang Qin coughed twice and pretended to be serious. No problem. Han Yan agreed without hesitation. It was already good enough that he was still alive and could protect his school. As for these things, he didn't care about them at all. Anyway, Since he had Jiang Chen's support, he would get a lot of benefits in the future. These things couldn't compare to him at all. Senior brother, take them away. Jiang Chen waved his hand. Bai Xiaoyun did not hesitate and put all the things on the second floor into the storage ring. By the way, young Master Jiang Chen, when can I go to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect? Now that we have joined the humble class, we need to know where the sect is. Han Yan rubbed his hands and asked. You can go any time. After seeing Bai Xiaoyun put all the things into the storage ring, Jiang Chen was ready to leave. Sect Master Han Yan, come with me to the Love Valley. Huh! Han Yan said. Humble class is the same as Love Valley. Now that they are both under our 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, we have to go and see them. And in the future, don't you want to protect Love Valley? Jiang Chen looked at him. Listen to young master. Han Yan nodded. After leaving the humble class, Jiang Chen and the other two returned to the small town. The protectors and disciples of the humble class had been taken away, and the injured Love Valley elders and disciples were healing in the small town. After asking, Jiang Chen rushed to the sacred mountain. At this time, Wang Min was cleaning the sect with some disciples who were not seriously injured. When Han Yan saw this, he quickly said, Sect Master Wang Min, let us humble class disciples do this kind of small thing. I will send a message back later and let them come and help. Han Yan? Seeing the person standing behind Jiang Chen, Wang Min immediately became alert. Jiang Chen quickly walked to Wang Min's side and explained, Don't worry. Now that he has joined the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect and is in the snow region, I can rest assured knowing that he can protect you. Aren't you afraid that he will have other thoughts about the icy soul pearl? Wang Min bit her lips. I won't, Jiang Chen said with a smile. With Gu Hui here, Han Yan would not have any disloyalty. Sect Master Wang Min, the previous matter was really not right. I lost my head for a moment and wanted to attack you. Now that we are all people of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, I hope that we can bury the hatchet in the future. Han Yan swallowed his saliva and continued. He knew that he had to get Wang Min's forgiveness. Otherwise, Jiang Chen would not let him go. Since Jiang Chen said so, then let's just pretend that nothing happened. Wang Min was a little helpless, but since Jiang Chen had already done so much, she couldn't refuse. She could only nod and agree. No problem. Han Yan heaved a sigh of relief. I have to make a trip back. I need to inform the sect about the situation in the western region. Jiang Chen's expression was a little gloomy. If not for the fact that he needed to report the situation of the Black Poison sect in the western region, Jiang Chen really wanted to stay here for a while and help the Love Despair Valley to return to normal before leaving. Let's go back. Wang Min's expression changed slightly. Han Yan, remember what I told you. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and said to him. Young master, I will remember. Han Yan said in a low voice. Jiang Chen nodded, looked back, and jumped down the sacred mountain with Bai Xiaoyun. Long Dade had already transformed into his original form and was waiting here. After the two landed on his back, they quickly approached the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Near evening, the three of them returned to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Bai Xiaoyun didn't stop and went to the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Now that Jiang Chen had established the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, although he was still the pavilion master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, he almost didn't care about the matters of the pavilion. At this time, he needed to replace him as the eldest senior brother. Jiang Chen, you're back! Jiang Chen and Long Dade had just entered when Jiang Yuan came out from inside to welcome them. Is it just you? Looking at the deserted sect, Jiang Chen frowned slightly. Naturally, he didn't feel too good in his heart. The current 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect had absorbed many forces in the north and east region, but in the end, they were all sects that had submitted. The real 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Only he, Huafu, Jiang Yuan, and Long Dade were left. Huafu went to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. I heard that the 9th mountain found some information and she should be back in 2 or 3 days. Now I'm the only one left in the sect. Jiang Yuan nodded in response. Then during the time that I was away, did anything happen in the sect? Jiang Chen asked as he led them inside. There were no problems, but many small sects and families would often come and ask to join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect to seek protection, but they are too weak. Not only is it useless to recruit them, but it will also cause us to lose resources. Jiang Yuan said in detail. Yes, there is indeed no need to recruit these forces. But our 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect is indeed a little desolate. Looking at such a magnificent sect, Jiang Chen's thoughts were pulled back to the past. At that time, his father was still the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Lord of the Immortal Sect, and the entire 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect was also a famous sect in the immortal world. There was an endless stream of people who came to visit, and the disciples of the Immortal Sect could almost fill the entire sect. But now, there were only the three of them in the huge Immortal Sect. Dade, you will have to work hard tonight. Spread the news to the entire North region that our 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect is recruiting disciples. Regardless of gender, regardless of cultivation, as long as they are talented, they can enter. Also, if they ascended from the lower realm, they can be selected based on merit. Jiang Chen stood on the spot and pondered for a while, then turned to Long Dade and said, I will go now. Seeing Jiang Chen's serious expression, Long Dade also put away his usual playful look. Brother Jiang Yuan, go and invite Elder Su Qian and Elder Su Yundian of the Thousand Mounts sect. Let them work hard and be the examiners. Jiang Chen said to Jiang Yuan. With the current reputation of our 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, once the news spreads, there will be thousands of cultivators gathered here. With just a few of us, I'm afraid we won't be able to filter them out in a few months. Jiang Yuan looked troubled. And the senior and junior brothers of the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion? Jiang Chen took a deep breath and said, the most important thing now was to strengthen the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. It would never be possible to let the Immortal sect stand in the immortal world with just external support. Okay. The two of them agreed at the same time and disappeared into the night in the blink of an eye. Jiang Chen sat alone in the empty Immortal sect. After nearly 2 hours, he got up and rushed to the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion. Chapter 1890. Junior Brother Jiang is back. As soon as Jiang Chen entered the Heavenly Secret Pavilion, there was a commotion inside. Bai Xiaoyun pushed the door open and asked Jiang Chen, Why are you here? Jiang Chen shrugged and said, I sent Jiang Yuan and Long Dade out. Hua Fu returned to Kunlun Immortal Mountain, leaving me there alone. Sigh. To be honest, the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect should recruit some disciples. Bai Xiaoyan sighed. I came back for this matter. Seeing Bai Xiaolan, Bai Fingyu, and more than 10 senior brothers and sisters come out, Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. From tomorrow onwards, I hope that senior brothers and sisters can help us to be examiners for the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect and screen the cultivators who come. You want to recruit disciples? Bai Xiaoyun asked in surprise. And the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect can't only rely on external forces. We need our own strength to have a chance to re-establish ourselves in the immortal world. If we don't even have a single disciple, then there's no difference whether we re-establish it or not. Jiang Chen nodded and said in a deep voice. But I'm afraid it's not enough with just us. Bai Xiaoyan pondered for a moment and said, Junior Sister Xiaolan, go to the Immortal Mountain overseas and ask them to send a few immortal kings to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Okay. Bai Xiaolan didn't refuse. Let's talk inside. Bai Xiaoyan pulled Jiang Chen's arm and went into the hall. Looking at the woman standing beside him, Jiang Chen rubbed his hands and asked, Fingyu, how's your cultivation? Not bad, there's already a faint sign of a breakthrough. Bai Fingyu nodded and said, Okay. Jiang Chen replied with a smile. Junior brother, is there anything in the immortal sect? Bai Xiaoyun took off the storage ring on her finger and placed it in front of Jiang Chen and said, Inside are the things we just brought back from the humble sect. If you want to recruit disciples, you have to have something good to attract them. Yes. Jiang Chen put all of the humble school's immortal methods and elixirs into his storage ring. Other than these, there were still many immortal spells and immortal techniques left from the immortal emperor's tomb. Not to mention, Long Dade still had many treasures from the heaven-devouring Golden Dragon tribe. I think there's no time to lose. Let's set off immediately. Go and pack up. Tomorrow, prepare to welcome the first batch of disciples of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Bai Shaoyun stood up and said after looking at the night sky outside. When Jiangchun and the people from the divination pavilion arrived at the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, Long Dade found a small family not far from the Immortal sect. After giving them a few thousand immortal jades, he told them to spread the news to every corner of the northern region. In a split second, tens of thousands of cultivators approached the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Even though this group of people didn't participate in the establishment of the Celestial sect, however, they had heard a lot of rumors about Jiangchun, Northern Region, Kunlun Celestial Mountain, Tianji Pavilion, Eastern Region Thousand Harmony sect. Even the two patriarchs of the Southern Region's 6 great spirit beast clans, the Blazing Phoenix clan and the Ancient Void Dragon clan, had personally arrived. Not to mention famous forces like the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy and the Ganges Bank. Everyone knew about the huge power behind Jiangchun. They also knew that once they entered the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, it meant that they were indirectly related to this power. It could even be said that in the current immortal world, there were probably not many forces stronger than the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect except for the 3 Immortal King sections. The next day, tens of thousands of cultivators gathered at the entrance of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Looking at the closed door, they were all excited. As long as they were recognized, they would be a member of the top sects in the immortal world in the future. Inside the sect, the senior and junior brothers of the divination pavilion, the immortal kings of the overseas immortal mountains, Su Qian and Su Yinyan, were all present. Jiangchun divided the immortal power according to the different attributes and distributed it to everyone. As for Jiangchun, he was sitting on the stone steps in front of the main hall, overlooking it. When the sun had just risen above the door, he pushed the door open. Immediately, all the cultivators outside gathered in. All attributes? What? The 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect accepts disciples of any attribute? Could it be that Jiangchun has all the immortal methods and immortal techniques? I'm afraid that no one in the immortal world can do it. Looking at the huge banner above everyone's head with the immortal power attribute, all the cultivators who entered the door were stunned. In their knowledge, it was not easy to have disciples with 2 different attributes. But they did a rough count. In the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, there were a total of 9 types. And this was only on the surface. Those rarer attributes might also be there. Everyone, please calm down and listen to me for a moment. Looking at the bustling crowd, Jiangchun stood up and said lightly. His voice, wrapped in immortal power, reached everyone's ears. All those who want to join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, according to the attributes of the immortal power in your body, go to the examiners to be tested. If you pass, you can enter the immortal sect and become the first batch of disciples. If you don't pass, then go back and come back to participate in the test 3 years later. Remember, if anyone dares to cause trouble here, I don't care who's behind him, kill him without mercy. Jiangchun glanced at them with his hands behind his back. With just these 2 sentences, the chaotic crowd instantly quietened down. No one dared to doubt Jiangchun's words. Seeing that order had been restored in the sect, Jiangchun turned and returned to the main hall. Looking at the empty main hall, he couldn't help but sigh. The establishment of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was a hot topic in the entire immortal world. His father should know about it too. Even if he didn't dare to show his face due to the pressure of the 3 immortal kings, he could always sneak back. Soon, several disciples passed the test and stood in the open space of the sect. As for those who didn't pass, they left dejectedly. They were all ready to try again in 3 years. Entering the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect had become their biggest dream. More and more people gathered outside the sect. Most of them came to participate in the test, but there were also a small number of people from various families and sects in the northern region. They came quietly to see what the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was up to. It was just that there were too many people gathered, and they only dared to watch from 100 meters away from the gate. Except for the densely packed cultivators at the gate, they couldn't see anything. Even some people from other sects, when they heard that the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect had full attribute immortal skills, wanted to try to become a disciple and then give up their previous sect. Chapter 1891. Due to the strict selection process, only about 100 people met the requirements after a whole day had passed and nearly 2,000 cultivators had been screened. While many people lamented the strict requirements of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, those who succeeded were even more delighted. They understood that the more strict a sect like the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was in selecting disciples, the more powerful and trump cards they had. This group of people even had a faint feeling that they would at least become immortal venerables in the future. Taking advantage of the assessment, Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyun tidied up the treasure pavilion in the immortal sect. As evening approached, only about 300 people remained from the tens of thousands of people who had gathered at the entrance. These 300 people were the current disciples of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. As soon as the assessment ended, Su Qian and Su Yundian left with the excuse that they had something to deal with in the sect. The junior brothers and sisters of the Divine Secret Pavilion also returned to the pavilion to continue their cultivation. Apart from this group of newcomers, only Jiang Chen, Jiang Yuan and the others were left. Jiang Chen stood in front of the main hall and looked at the disciples in front of him. From today onwards, you are all disciples of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. I am your young lord. This immortal monarch expert of the immortal ape race is the great elder. This immortal monarch expert of the blazing phoenix race is the second elder. As for him, he is your protector. Do you all know each other? Jiang Chen pointed at Jiang Yuan and the other two with a spear in one hand and introduced them. Understood, young lord. Everyone shouted in unison. However, in the crowd, a strange voice sounded. The dignified 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect has a young lord, an elder, and even a protector. Why is there no sect master? Someone in the crowd suddenly said. However, the voice was very low and only the people around him could hear it clearly. Oh? Speak up if you have a question. Jiang Chen heard it clearly and said with a smile. The disciple was embarrassed. He only wanted to complain, but who would have thought that Jiang Chen would hear it? Reporting to young lord, I just said that there is a young lord, an elder, and a protector in the immortal sect. Why is there no sect master? After hesitating for a while, the disciple opened his mouth and said. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he closed his eyes. He was going to wait for Jiang Chen to drive him out of the school. When the other disciples heard this, they all broke out in cold sweat for him. The news of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect had already spread throughout the immortal world. Back then, Wanqing Immortal Monarch was suppressed by 3 immortal kings. Young Lord Wanhua escaped by a fluke, and after 10 reincarnations, he reappeared in the immortal world. In their view, 10,000 mounts was Jiang Chen's bottom line. Now, this scar was being brought up in front of everyone. All the disciples were prepared to welcome Jiang Chen's wrath. Ha ha, come out and let me see who it is! Who would have thought that not only was Jiang Chen not angry, but he even laughed out loud. Everyone made way for him. The disciple walked out from the crowd and stood in front of the stone steps. He cupped his hands towards Jiang Chen. Junior Lin Xiao greets young master. The current 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect does not have a sect master, but there will definitely be one in the future. It could be the former 10,000 Mounts Immortal Monarch, or it could be me. However, this is not something you need to worry about. After entering the Immortal sect, I will provide you with the best cultivation resources in the immortal world, but at the same time, I will set a rule for you. Those who do not improve in 3 years, those who do not improve in 100 years, and those who do not reach the immortal realm in 1,000 years will all leave, Jiang Chen said loudly with his hands behind his back. Yes, young master. Everyone immediately nodded and agreed loudly. Lin Xiao, right? Jiang Chen looked at him and said, If I remember correctly, you should be the first disciple to enter the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Come with me, I have something to ask you. Lin Xiao's hands trembled, but he still braced himself and walked up the stone steps. It's over. The eldest senior brother we just met is going to suffer. Maybe he is the only person in the immortal world who was chased out of the sect after becoming the eldest senior brother for less than a day. Everyone could not help but sigh. Quiet down! After seeing Lin Xiao follow Jiang Qin into the main hall, Jiang Yuan shouted loudly. All disciples, follow Guardian Long to the place where you can rest. Since you have just joined the sect today, I will give you 1 day to learn. Gather here tomorrow morning. According to the attribute of your immortal power, I will provide you with immortal arts for cultivation. Under Long Dade's lead, nearly 300 disciples left one after another. In the main hall, Lin Xiao stood straight in the middle. As for Jiang Qin, he poured himself a cup of tea and took 2 sips. Do you know why I called you here? After drinking the tea, Jiang Qin turned to look at him. I'm sorry, young master. I shouldn't have asked that question. Lin Xiao lowered his head with a heavy expression. The joy of joining the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was washed away by his mistake. No. If you have doubts in your heart, you naturally have to ask. I will not blame you for this. Jiang Qin shook his head and explained. Then I don't know. Lin Xiao shook his head. He was a little confused, but more than that, he felt relieved. At the very least, it meant that he, the eldest senior brother, would not be chased out of the sect. It's because of your talent. You have immortal force of wood and ice attributes in your body, right? These 2 immortal forces are not interconnected. I didn't expect them to appear in your body at the same time. Jiang Qin looked at him and said, My talent is not worth mentioning in front of you, young master. Lin Xiao smiled embarrassedly. He had heard about what Jiang Qin had done in the past. He also knew that the immortal force of 7 or 8 attributes in his body was nothing compared to Jiang Qin's. Cut the crap. Since you are the eldest senior brother and one of the more outstanding talents among the new disciples, I have decided to promote you. Jiang Qin rubbed his chin and pondered for a while before taking out an ancient scroll. Young master, this is? Lin Xiao asked curiously when he saw the scroll. What attribute immortal technique, beginning of all beginnings? Jiang Qin put it on the table and said, I got this scroll from the immortal emperor's tomb. It can be said to be the strongest wood attribute immortal technique that I have come into contact with. Young master, I have just joined the sect. I really can't accept such a big gift. After hearing Jiang Qin's introduction, Lin Xiao directly knelt on the ground and said in a deep voice, It's my decision whether I can accept it or not yours. Jiang Qin frowned slightly and helped him to his feet. He said, I gave you this immortal method because I trust you. However, if I find out that you have any ulterior motives, don't blame me for being merciless. Young master, don't worry. I will only have the 10,000 creations immortal sect in my heart in the future. Lin Xiao kowtowed heavily. Get up. With your current cultivation of the 3rd level of the Golden Immortal Realm, the beginning of all beginnings is enough. After you have improved, I will give you another ice attribute immortal technique. Chapter 1892. Thank you, young master. Lin Zhao's eyes turned red. He didn't expect to receive such a big gift as soon as he entered the sect. Jiang Chen's position in his heart instantly rose. He decided that in the future, he would give his life to the 10,000 creations immortal sect. If anyone dared to hurt the sect and the young master, they would have to step over his dead body first. Jiang Chen patted him on the shoulder and said in a deep voice, You don't have to thank me. In the future, when the elders and I, and even Protector Long, are not in the sect, I will count on you to maintain the order of the sect. Okay. Lin Xiao nodded heavily. Go back and rest. I have something to tell you tomorrow morning. Jiang Qin waved his hand at him. When Lin Xiao left with the scroll, Jiang Yuan and Hua Fu also walked in side by side. Young master, I have arranged for all the disciples to rest. Jiang Yuan sat beside Jiang Qin and said while panting. Well, thank you for your hard work today. Jiang Qin replied. I went to Kunlun Mountain during this period and got some new news. Huafu glanced at Jiang Chen with a complicated look and said, Oh? What news? Jiang Chen avoided her gaze. Until now, he didn't know how to face her. Several leaders of Kunlun Mountain have been investigating the sect master of the Black Sect. They said that in 3 months, the sect master of the Black Sect is very likely to hold a ceremony somewhere in the Eastern Domain. As for the purpose, they don't know, but the news should be accurate. With Jiang Yuan present, Huafu didn't dare to be too presumptuous, and could only speak seriously. Ceremony? How did Kunlun Mountain get this news? Jiang Chen frowned slightly. Based on his understanding of the Black Sect, this group of people should be very secretive. It was understandable if Qianhe's sect got this news, but it was a little unusual for Kunlun Mountain to get it. It is said that the news was brought back by the 10th leader of Kunlun Mountain. Huafu closed the door of the hall and said, What did you say? Jiang Chen stood up with a look of surprise. Even he did not know the identity of the 10th mountain master of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. In Jiang Chen's mind, this person was either in seclusion somewhere in the immortal world or had already fallen. It was just that he didn't expect to hear news about this person. Moreover, this person had also provided useful information for him. Is the 10th mountain lord still in the Celestial Mountain? Jiang Chen pondered for a moment, then stood up and prepared to leave. He has already left. Huafu shook her head and said, He left? Jiang Chen returned to his chair and said, Since it's news from the mountain chieftain, there shouldn't be any problems. Let's see what the Black Sect is up to in 3 months. Yes. Huafu nodded. There's one more thing. That girl called Xiao Xiao, after knowing that you've already established the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, insisted on leaving the Kunlun Immortal Mountain and joining the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. Ignore her. At the mention of this person, Jiang Chun became angry. He was already badly battered from investigating Hikari's whereabouts. If there was such a chattering person beside him, it wouldn't take long for him to have mental problems. I also stopped her. Huafu knew what Jiang Chun was thinking and said, Then let's leave it at that for now. 3 months is enough for us to prepare. Before that, let's settle the sex situation. Jiang Chun rubbed his hands and said, Then, young master, I'll go back and rest first. Jiang Yuan yawned. He knew that it was time to not disturb Jiang Chen and Huafu. Go on, go on. Before Jiang Chen could say anything, Huafu waved her hand at him. Hey! Just as Jiang Chen spoke, Jiang Yuan had already disappeared from the main hall. Huafu got up and stretched, showing off her graceful waist incisively and vividly. She walked in front of Jiang Chen and gently sat on his lap. Cough, cough. Smelling the fragrance on her body, Jiang Chen was confused and infatuated. Huafu put her arm around Jiang Chen's neck, and her white legs were almost in front of Jiang Chen's face. Tell me, what did you do after leaving the Immortal Sect in such a hurry? Damn! Jiang Chen slapped his head. Huafu, who was sitting on him, was shocked and quickly got up. When I came back, I was so busy with the recruitment of disciples that I forgot to tell you about the situation in the western region. Jiang Chen frowned and said in a deep voice. Kunlun Immortal Mountain was fine, and they had already found out that the Black Sect master was going to hold some kind of ceremony. They must be watching closely, but Qianhe's sect still didn't know anything. Jiang Chen was supposed to tell Great Elder Su Qian about the situation in the western region today, but who would have thought that he was so busy that he completely forgot about it? What's wrong? What happened in the western region? After being frightened by Jiang Chen, Huafu lost all interest. She sat beside Jiang Chen and asked, In the western region, there are several sect masters similar to the Black Sect. One of them is called the Black Poison Sect, and there is also the poison that Hu Yuanba and the green light heavenly snake used to attack your father. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and said slowly, The Black Plague? Huafu's eyes instantly focused. Yes, their aura and the immortal arts they use have this thing. Jiang Chen nodded. The western region. Huafu got up and walked to the middle of the hall. But this time, I only fought with the Black Poison Sect, and it was with the help of another sect, so I didn't have the chance to investigate further. Jiangchen walked to her side. Why are you still in a daze? Let's gather all of our experts and go directly to the Poison Palm sect. Huafu turned her head and looked at Jiangchen. She couldn't understand why Jiangchen was wasting time. We don't know any sects in the western region. If we bring the experts in the northern region, it will definitely attract the attention of the western region. If there is a conflict between the northern and western regions, we can't bear the responsibility. Jiangchen frowned slightly. Then what do you mean? Huafu calmed down and thought for a while. Investigate slowly. These sects are already very rampant, and one day I will catch them. Jiangchen clenched his fists. What about Hikari? Aren't you afraid that she will be in danger? Huafu turned to look at Jiangchen. I am, Jiangchen said. The little girl's voice and smiling face appeared in his mind. Jiangchen wanted to rescue her very much, but if he focused all of his attention on this matter, not only would he not make any progress, but he would even delay other things. Sometimes when Jiangchen was alone, he would think whether he should go all out for a disciple he had only known for a short time. But when he thought of Hikari's solemn promise that she would protect her master after her cultivation improved in the future, Jiangchen felt that everything was worth it. Chapter 1893. The next day. After Jiangchen rested, all the disciples had already gathered in front of the main hall. This was their first day in the sect. Lin Xiao, who was the first to enter the sect, stood in front of everyone. Is everyone ready? Jiangchen looked sideways at Jiang Yuan and asked. Yes, Jiang Yuan replied. All disciples, according to the attribute of your immortal power, go to the treasure pavilion in order to find an immortal art suitable for you to cultivate. Each person is only allowed to take one book. If anyone dares to take more than one book, they can leave the sect. Jiangchen pointed to the treasure pavilion not far from the main hall and said to them, Yes, young master. Everyone answered excitedly. They all knew that the sect definitely had top immortal arts and techniques. From the moment they entered the sect, they were already looking forward to Jiangchen's words. You still haven't given me a direct answer. Huafu looked at Jiangchen with resentment in her eyes. Last night, when she asked Jiangchen if they should go all out to save Hikari, Jiangchen didn't give a direct answer. Instead, he said a few vague words and went back to his room to rest. Of course we have to save her. The Black Sect ceremony in 3 months will be our chance, Jiangchen said in a deep voice. Yes. Huafu was relieved after hearing Jiangchen's words and didn't continue to ask. More than 300 disciples entered the treasure pavilion in order. Each of them got an immortal art or technique that they liked. Those who cultivated the light attribute or the dark attribute also found suitable ones. Before they joined the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, they almost couldn't find any suitable techniques for them to cultivate. Even if there were, they were of the lowest level. They didn't have the chance to come into contact with those high-level techniques. But it was different now. In the sect's treasure pavilion, there were more than a dozen immortal arts and techniques of these two attributes. Everyone was almost dazzled before they picked one that they were satisfied with. However, when all the disciples gathered in front of the main hall again, a shout suddenly came from outside the sect. Go and see what's going on. Jiangchen walked down the stone steps and said to Lin Xiao. Yes. Lin Xiao quickly walked to the gate. As soon as he opened the door, a kick came in from outside. Lin Xiao could not dodge in time and was struck in the chest. With a grunt, Lin Xiao flew back and landed beside Jiangchen. His cultivation was only at the 3rd stage of the golden immortal realm. His chest had caved in, and blood was flowing out of the corner of his mouth. His aura was very weak, and he looked like he was about to die. Young master, Lin Xiao struggled to get up. Seeing him in such a miserable state, Jiangchen's vigor was completely gone. The originally clear sky was instantly filled with dark clouds, and there was a faint rumble of thunder. Who dares to hurt the disciples of my 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect? Jiang Yuan and Huafu rushed out at the same time. Don't worry, With me here, you'll be fine. Jiangchen took out a pill from his storage ring and stuffed it into his mouth. Then, he waved to the two disciples in front of him and said, "Help him to rest inside. Wait for me to solve the problem in front of me, then I'll go treat him." With the help of the disciples, Lin Xiao was taken away. Jiang Chen's figure flashed to the gate in an instant, and even the disciples behind did not see it clearly. There were hundreds of people standing outside the gate. "Why did you hurt the disciples of my 10,000 mounts immortal sect?" Jiangchen narrowed his eyes and asked in a low voice. "Jiangchen, why did you turn our sect's disciples into your sect's disciples?" One of them pointed at Jiangchen and shouted, "I admit that your 10,000 mounts immortal sect is strong, but you poached our most talented disciple. How should we settle this account?" "Oh? What do you mean?" Jiangchen smiled. "Sun Zhou." That person pointed at a person inside the gate and said, "He used to be a disciple of our Wolf Fang gang, but he suddenly disappeared yesterday and entered your 10,000 mounts immortal sect. Shouldn't we go and ask?" "Sun Zhou, were you a member of the Wolf Fang gang?" Jiangchen turned and asked. "Yes." Sun Zhou stood up and said, "But the Wolf Fang gang is really bad to our disciples. We can't get any useful immortal technique at all. We even have to hand over 80% of the immortal jade that we earned. Jiangchen, did you see that? He is a disciple of our Wolf Fang gang." That person sneered, looking like he was going to condemn him. "You're the sect leader?" Jiangchen turned around and looked at him. "Yes, I am the sect leader of the Wolf Fang gang, Zhou Gu." That person patted his chest, looking very proud. "Go back. Sun Zhou used to be one of your people, but now he has joined our 10,000 mounts immortal sect and is my subordinate. He has nothing to do with you." Jiangchen was not in the mood to talk nonsense with them. He waved his hand and said impatiently, "Why should we?" As soon as these words came out, even the others were unwilling. 1,000,000 immortal jade per person. In the future, don't come to our 10,000 mounts immortal sect to find trouble. Jiangchen also knew that this matter was not right, but how could he return the disciples that he had recruited? If this matter spread out in the future, wouldn't the immortal world look at their 10,000 mounts immortal sect as a joke? "How about this, Jiangchen? Give me 50 million immortal jade and we will admit defeat." Hearing that there was money to be made, and looking at the imposing 10,000 mounts immortal sect, Zhou Gu directly stretched out 5 fingers to Jiangchen and said loudly, "We also want 50 million. 2 of my sect's disciples have joined your 10,000 mounts immortal sect. Give me at least 100 million immortal jade. My sect also has a disciple." 7 or 8 people shouted at the same time. This appearance was clearly looking at Jiangchen as a fool. "Really?" Jiangchen suddenly laughed. "How can it be fake? You have recruited the most talented disciples of our respective sections. When they grow up in the future, how can they be measured by immortal jade? 50 million immortal jade is too little. I should ask you for 100 million. Zhou Gu put his hands on his hips, looking as if he would never leave until he got the money. "Oh? Where is Guardian Long?" Jiangchen answered in a low voice, then turned his head and asked. "I'm here." Long Dade came over excitedly. Protector Long's name sounded like it had a lot of status. It sounded much better than Great Virtue. "You go to these sects and tell all the disciples that if anyone wants to join the 10,000 mounts immortal sect, they can participate in the assessment. As long as they are qualified, they can get the top immortal arts in the immortal sect to practice," Jiangchen said with a smile. "Jiangchen, what do you mean? You dare to poach people in front of us?" The faces of several sect leaders changed. They did not expect Jiangchen to be so ruthless. "Nothing special. I just want to let the immortal sect absorb some new blood," Jiangchen said lightly. Chapter 1894. "Jiangchen, you've gone too far!" Several sect masters pointed at Jiangchen and scolded him. "Do you want to join the 10,000 mounts front sect?" Jiangchen ignored them completely. Gazing at the hundreds of disciples from different sects and schools standing at the gate, he asked. After hearing Jiang Chen's words, everyone fell into silence. Their clans or sects were unknown in the northern region. They were even exploited and oppressed by their sect masters. At this time, joining the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was the best choice. What do you mean? Seeing that none of their disciples had scolded Jiang Chen, the other faction lords, led by Zhou Gu, all turned around and asked unhappily. Can we really join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect? The disciples looked at each other and asked in unison. Of course, if you don't qualify to join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, I'll arrange for you to join other sections. No matter where you go, it's better than now, Jiang Chen said with a smile. We're willing to take the test, everyone said excitedly. At first, they thought they would offend Jiang Chen by following their sect masters. Who would have thought that it would be an opportunity for them to jump from their current sects to Jiang Chen's subordinates? It would be like a carp jumping over the dragon gate. Are you rebelling? The sect masters were furious. They used their celestial arts to get rid of all the trash from the sections. Unfortunately, just as their celestial force flowed out of their bodies, the soul-slaying, spirit-suppressing formation fell from the sky and enveloped them. Feeling the strong celestial force fluctuation in the formation, Zhou Gu and the others' hearts sank. They had heard that Jiang Chen trapped Xian Yi and Xian Er with a formation in Xian Zhu and Immortal King's Jade Sword sect with a third-stage celestial immortal cultivation. If even such a person could not escape, they naturally had no chance of breaking out. Guardian Long, go! Jiang Chen nodded to Long Dade. Long Dade looked at the few people in the array disdainfully, and immediately left. Jiang Chen, we are both sect masters of the northern region. Not only did you steal our disciples, you even wanted to kill us. If word of this gets out, you will be condemned by all the cultivators in the northern region. Zhou Gu condensed his immortal power and struck the array formation with all his might. However, he discovered that his full-powered attack was unable to cause any damage to the formation. If you have something good to say, I won't treat you like this. Jiang Chen smiled and said. However, you injured the eldest apprentice brother of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal School as soon as we met. We have to settle this score, don't we? You! Zhou Gu and the others were speechless. I advise you to stay inside. Otherwise, you might not be able to keep your lives. Jian Yuan walked to the front of the formation and scolded him in a low voice. Don't go too far. Zhou Gu hammered the barrier hard. Unfortunately, their disciples all followed behind Jiang Chen and entered the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. And they were like guards, locked outside, guarding the gate of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect for Jiang Chen. Everyone, what should we do? Zhou Gu clenched his fist and said, Jiang Chen is really too much. Relying on the support of an expert, he doesn't put us, small sects, in his eyes. If we just endure it, we will definitely be bullied by him in the future. Sect Master Zhou, what do you say? The others all felt that Zhou Gu dared to confront Jiang Chen and vaguely regarded him as the leader. Zhou Gu glanced at the barrier and said in a deep voice, Let's join hands and break through his barrier together. Otherwise, we don't know how long we will be trapped here. That's right. Although that Jiang Chen is strange, his cultivation is only at the third stage of the immortal realm. With the strength of our immortal monarchs, as long as we join hands, we will definitely be able to break through his barrier. Another sect master also spoke. But what can we do if we break through? In Jiang Chen's sect, there are at least 3 or 4 immortal kings. If we dare to find trouble with them, I'm afraid only death awaits us. One of the more cowardly sect masters shuddered. Ever since Jiang Chen ascended from the lower realm, they had heard too much news. It's better than sitting here and waiting for death. Zhou Gu really couldn't swallow this resentment. He condensed all the immortal qi in his body and fiercely bombarded one side of the barrier. Under his all-out attack, the barrier trembled a little, but it still did not collapse. With Zhou Gu's attack, the other sect masters also used all their skills. After returning to the sect, Jiang Chen saw that Jian Yuan had already arranged for the disciples to undergo the assessment. He walked to the front of the disciples and looked at them and said loudly, "I don't care what sect or family you were from before. Since you have entered the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, you must be loyal to the sect in the future. Whoever dares to have any evil thoughts will be killed immediately." After glancing at them and saying this, Jiangchen directly rushed into the main hall. None of the disciples present dared to doubt Jiangchen's words. After all, they had seen the situation in front of the sect just now. The young master was able to trap several immortal monarch sect masters with his third-stage immortal realm cultivation. The strength hidden under his cultivation was no longer something they could guess. In a room in the main hall, Lin Xiao was helped to the bed by a disciple. Although the elixir saved his life, such a serious injury would not recover in a short time. "Young master." Seeing Jiangchen come in, Lin Xiao struggled to get up from the bed. "Lie down and don't move." Jiangchen frowned and quickly pressed him down on the bed. "Young master, I'm sorry. I just promised you yesterday that I would become an independent expert of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect and protect my junior brothers and sisters. I didn't expect to become a cripple today." Lin Xiao sighed. As a cultivator, he knew what his situation was like. Zhou Gu's kick had directly broken all his ribs, and the broken bones had also pierced into his internal organs. Unless he got a top elixir and was treated by a top expert, no one could save his life. Lin Xiao did not know the foundation of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. He simply thought that even if Jiangchen had such power, he was just a golden immortal cultivator. It should not be worth wasting those resources for him. It's rare that you still have the heart to remember this. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, you won't be in any danger. Jiangchen smiled. With a stroke of his hand, a boundary lingering with green light appeared around Lin Xiao. Feeling a steady stream of vitality and spiritual power gathering in his body, Lin Xiao raised his head in surprise. This immortal technique is called the Divine Protection Boundary. It absorbs the surrounding wood attribute and transforms it into spiritual power that can heal injuries. When you reach the threshold of the beginning of all beginnings, I will teach you. Chapter 1895. Jiangchen smiled and said, "Young master, I'm just a golden immortal cultivator." Lin Xiao was very touched. When he was helped back by his junior brothers, he had already thought about his ending. He would be kicked out of the sect. Or he would continue to live in the sect as a useless person. But he never thought that Jiangchen would come to the room with the intention of healing him. "So what if you're a golden immortal? When I first ascended to the immortal realm, I was only an immortal and stayed in the true immortal realm for half a year. Later, I broke through to the divine immortal realm because of a chance encounter. If even I can do it, can't you?" Jiangchen smiled calmly. Then he helped him to his feet and patted him on the back with his palm. Would attribute immortal power and the power of the Flame Phoenix race's bloodline were infused into Lin Xiao's body. Lin Xiao could clearly feel that the broken ribs that were inserted into his internal organs were slowly melting. His internal injuries were also recovering, and new ribs were slowly growing. "Thank you, young master." After sensing the situation in his body, Lin Xiao immediately sat cross-legged and began to circulate his immortal power to heal his injuries. After about an hour, Jiangchen removed his hand. "Young master!" At this time, Lin Xiao's injuries were completely healed. He suddenly turned over and got off the bed, kneeling on one knee on the ground. He looked at Jiangchen with determined eyes and said, "I, Lin Xiao, will definitely not betray young master and the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. No matter what happens in the future, I will protect the sect with my own life. Haha, these are all things for later. You should focus on healing your injuries now." Jiangchen smiled and patted him on the shoulder. "Yes, young master." Lin Xiao got up and replied, "Young master, those sect leaders have joined forces to break through the barrier." Just as Jiangchen was about to let him continue to heal his injuries, Long Dade pushed the door open and said, "Have you notified the disciples of those sects?" Jiangchen asked. "I've notified them. After those disciples heard the news, They rushed to our 10,000 mounts immortal sect like crazy. Even many elders were tempted. Long Dade replied. Jiangchen tilted his head. From this room, he could see the situation in front of the main hall. Thousands of disciples were gathered at the entrance of the sect, waiting for Jiang Yuan and Huafu to assess them. Let's go and see what those sect leaders are up to. Jiangchen sneered and was about to turn around and leave. But suddenly, several white figures rushed over. Seeing Bai Xiaoyun and several senior brothers from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion arrive, Jiangchen walked out of the hall and asked, "Eldest senior brother? What's going on? Isn't your 10,000 mounts immortal sect going to recruit disciples after 3 years? How come there are so many people now?" Bai Xiaoyun frowned at the situation in front of her and said, "I sensed a lot of auras approaching the immortal gate. I thought you had gotten into some trouble again." "There is indeed trouble." Jiangchen explained the situation of those sections. "Go and get rid of them." Bai Xiaoyun looked up and scanned the area. She saw the few people who had just broken through the barrier and were preparing to attack the immortal sect. "Junior brother Jiang, we have helped you so much. You have to treat us to a good meal." The apprentice brothers nodded and smiled at Jiangchen. Then they dashed to the gate. Under the gaze of all the disciples, Zhou Gu and the other sect leaders, who were only immortal monarchs, were quickly killed by several people from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. The disciples were dumbfounded. In the past, they had only heard some rumors about the 10,000 mounts immortal sect. But now, several immortal kings had suddenly appeared in the sect. With this strength alone, they could be considered one of the top sects in the northern region. It's a lot livelier now. Bai Xiaoyun, with her hands behind her back, looked at the lively scene of the 10,000 mounts immortal sect and nodded. Compared to the desolation in the past, there were disciples cultivating, resting, and going in and out of the treasure pavilion. This was more like an immortal sect, not just an empty shell. Eldest senior brother, Huafu just brought back news from Kunlun Immortal Mountain. In 3 months the Black Sect will hold a ceremony somewhere in the eastern region. Jiangchen took a deep breath and said slowly, "What ceremony?" The smile on Bai Xiaoyun's face gradually disappeared, and she asked in a deep voice, "I don't know for the time being. Several leaders of Kunlun Immortal Mountain are investigating. I think they should be able to find out something." Jiangchen shook his head and continued, "I'm afraid it's not good news for such an evil and strange sect to hold a ceremony." "Yes." Bai Xiaoyun exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and sighed. "At that time, I'll need the help of the senior brothers and sisters in the pavilion." Jiangchen cupped his fists at Bai Xiaoyun. "What are you talking about?" Bai Xiaoyun reached out and opened Jiangchen's hands, saying, "Although you are now the young master of the 10,000 mounts immortal sect, you still have the identity of the pavilion master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Besides, it was Master who personally asked me to help and protect you." "Okay." Hearing Bai Xiaoyun's words, Jiangchen didn't say anything more. "Where are you going to send those disciples who didn't pass the assessment?" Bai Xiaoyun saw that only dozens of disciples passed the assessment, and those who didn't pass were standing at the gate. In the western part of the northern region, the Underworld Gang and the Fire Dragon Institution. Jiangchen thought for a while and said, "Won't those 2 sects become garbage collectors?" Bai Xiaoyun couldn't help but laugh. The disciples in these sects were originally weak in cultivation, talent, and strength. It was already not easy to pick dozens of them out of thousands of people. Bai Xiaoyun remembered that these 2 sects in the western part seemed to have joined the 10,000 mounts immortal sect before and were now Jiangchen's subordinates. These disciples are indeed not qualified for the 10,000 mounts immortal sect, but the Underworld Gang and the Fire Dragon Institution are not much better than these sections. When the time comes, let Hu Shu and Zhu Zhong choose the disciples they like. As for the others, just give them some immortal jades and let them go," Jiangchen said with a smile with his hands behind his back. "Now you are more and more like a sect master." Bai Xiaoyun looked at Jiangchen with satisfaction. It had only been a short time since Jiangchen first came to the Heaven's Secret Pavilion. However, Jiangchen was improving at a speed visible to the naked eye. If she let Jiangchen be the sect master just to cheat him, now, all the disciples of the Heaven's Secret Pavilion, including Bai Xiaoyun, were convinced. Eldest senior brother, don't make fun of me. Jiang Chen shook his head. He only felt that the pressure on his shoulder was getting heavier and heavier, and it almost made him breathless. What are you going to do in 3 months? Seeing Jiang Chen frowning, Bai Xiaoyun changed the topic. Destroy his ceremony and save Hikari. Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. His tone was so firm that it didn't allow anyone to deny it. Okay. Bai Xiaoyun put her hand on his shoulder. Chapter 1896. It took nearly 4 hours for these disciples to be selected. There were close to 4,000 disciples from the 5 sects, including those who came later. However, only less than 100 people were selected from this group. After they were incorporated into the Immortal Sect, there were now 400 disciples in the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. These people had all passed the assessment, and each of them had a certain talent and cultivation. As for the rest, Jiang Chen asked them to go to the western part of the northern region to find the Underworld Gang and the Fire Dragon Hall. As for the corpses of the sect leaders, they were thrown into the mountains on the west side of the Immortal Sect and became the dinner of the wild beasts. I'll give you a month to practice the immortal skills of the sect. After a month, everyone will enter the mountains on the right side of the Immortal Sect and survive for 7 days. Those who can come out safely will be qualified to enter the Overseas Immortal Graveyard. Jiang Chen glanced at them and said in a deep voice. The mountains? Jiang Chen's words gave them a good scare. After entering the Immortal Sect for 2 days, they had investigated the surrounding situation clearly. The mountains on the west side could be said to be the longest mountain range in the entire western region. It connected from the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect to the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, and then to the nearby eastern region. Even in the Immortal Sect, they could still feel the fluctuations from the wild beasts in the mountains from time to time. Among this group of disciples, the general strength was around the genuine immortal and golden immortal level. The strongest was only a fairy immortal. With their strength, it was really difficult for them to go into the mountains to face the wild beasts who had cultivated for countless years. However, they did not dare to disobey Jiang Chen's words. Young master, what is the Overseas Immortal Graveyard? Compared to the mountains, they were more interested in this place that they had never heard of. You can understand it as an area that contains a lot of treasures. Anything you get from there will belong to you. He had just ascended to the immortal realm and entered the Overseas Immortal Graveyard. It had only been a short time. But now, it seemed to be a lifetime ago. Understood. Everyone nodded in agreement, excited. Disperse. After that, Jiang Chen waved at them. Bringing Jiang Chen, Huafu, and the others back to the Great Hall, Jiang Chen once again told them about the Black Gates ceremony. Like Bai Xiaoyun, everyone in the Pavilion of Heavenly Secrets immediately patted their chests and promised to help before he even finished speaking. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Other than occasionally returning to the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion to deal with 2 or 3 matters, Jiang Chen spent most of his time in the Immortal Sect. In order to improve the cultivation of these disciples, he even transferred a few immortal kings from the Overseas Immortal Mountains to stay and let them impart their skills. Under the dual effects of the immortal arts and techniques of the immortal sects, and the guidance of the immortal king, the cultivation of this group of disciples improved and their strength also increased greatly. Are we really going to let them enter the forest? Bai Xiaoyun said worriedly. There are many powerful wild beasts living in this forest. There are even a few that are above the immortal monarch realm. With their strength, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. If it's not dangerous, we might as well serve them well. Looking at these disciples, Jiang Chen knew that many of them would die in the forest. Entering the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, I really don't know if they're lucky or unlucky. Bai Xiaoyun sighed and clicked her tongue. Under Jiang Chen's command, hundreds of figures rushed to the west and plunged into the mountains. The sect masters of the Overseas Immortal Mountains also returned to the Great Hall. They glanced at each other. Young Master Jiang, can you let the disciples of our immortal mountains cultivate with the disciples of your immortal sect? Mei Chenyu of the Charmed sect stood up and asked Jiang Chen. Sect Master Mei, why? Jiang Chen asked with a smile. Our overseas immortal mountains are now considered to belong to your 10,000 mounts immortal sect. Our disciples also want to enter the immortal graveyard. Mei Chenyu bit her lip. Yes, young Master Jiang. If the strength of our overseas immortal mountains disciples increases, it's ultimately still your strength. Gao Yuan stood up and said somewhat embarrassedly. Since the last time he had a conflict with Jiang Chen, he had not dared to face Jiang Chen. But now, Jiang Chen had the ability to open the overseas immortal graveyard on his own. If he did not take the opportunity to enter, wouldn't it be a waste? You all also have the same idea? Jiang Chen looked at the other sect masters. They did not speak, but their eyes were very fiery. All right, mobilize the disciples of your various sects, but each sect only has a quota of 20 disciples. Thinking that he would need these experts from the overseas immortal mountains in the future, Jiang Chen could not refuse their request. Many thanks, young Master Jiang. Everyone stood up together and cupped their hands towards Jiang Chen. Several sect masters walked to the entrance of the Great Hall and sent the news to their respective sections. 10 minutes later, 100 disciples gathered here. Jiang Chen briefly explained the situation to them, and this group of people plunged into the deep mountains. Mei Chenyu and the others breathed a sigh of relief, and some mocked the other sect masters who did not come. 3 months ago, Jiang Chen sent people to the overseas immortal graveyard and asked 5 sect masters to come to the 10,000 mounts immortal sect to help train the disciples. Only the 5 of them came, and the others pretended to be dead because they were afraid of trouble. But now it seemed that their 3 months of hard work had not been in vain. Once the disciples could get any treasure from the overseas immortal graveyard, it would be a huge profit. Young Master, I want to go too. Just as Jiang Chen was about to go back and rest, Lin Xiao walked out. Where are you going? Jiang Chen frowned and asked. Of course I'm going to the deep mountains. I'm the eldest senior brother, how can I not abide by the rules of the immortal sect? Lin Xiao coughed twice. Although he had recovered from his injuries with the help of Jiang Chen, he still needed a long time to recuperate. You don't have to participate this time. When the time comes, follow them to the overseas immortal graveyard, Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. Young Master, I have to go. As the eldest senior brother, I can't let them look down on me. Lin Xiao shook his head very firmly. Are you sure? Seeing his honest look, Jiang Chen asked. Yes. Lin Xiao nodded heavily. Go, but protect yourself first. Jiang Chen couldn't persuade him and could only relent. After getting Jiang Chen's permission, Lin Xiao took a deep breath and rushed to the west. Young Master Jiang has accepted a good disciple. Mei Chenyu covered her mouth and chuckled. He is the eldest senior brother of the 10,000 mounts immortal sect. If he doesn't have a good appearance, I'm afraid he won't be able to convince the masses. Jiang Chen chuckled, but a moment later, he looked slightly worried. It's just that these people are not bad. I'm worried that they won't be convinced by each other and might cause trouble. Long. After thinking for a while, Jiang Chen said, You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.